Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. If everybody can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes. So we would like to remove item 5.7. And then there is a special agenda that we'd like to run concurrent with the regular agenda. So if we can take item 5.1 on the special agenda and make it item 5.21 on the regular agenda.
We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the agenda with changes.
I second that.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock, Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Mayor Horn.
And I vote aye. Let's see. Okay, we're going to hold off just a second. We got a quick announcement for tonight.
Good evening. I am aware that there are some of you here tonight to make comments about the untimely passing of Coalinga Police Department K-9 Nitro. I first want to begin by sharing that the City of Coalinga shares your grief in relation to the loss of life of Nitro. Should you wish to make a public comment regarding Nitro or any other item within the jurisdiction of the council, you may do so under the citizen comment portion of the agenda, which is section number 3. Please know that the city has ordered a necropsy on Nitro to determine a cause of death, and that an outside independent investigation is being conducted. If his death was caused by any sort of wrongdoing, it will be addressed. There is also a presentation tonight to honor Nitro and his service to the city. We ask that you respectfully allow Nitro to be honored and refrain from making any comments from the audience. Lastly, there is an item for discussion regarding a municipal code section regarding the inhumane treatment and cruelty to animals. Should you wish to make a comment in relation to the ordinance at the time that that item is being discussed, please fill out a comment card. They're located on that shelf over there where Officer Salceda is leaning, and you can give it to the city clerk prior to that item being discussed. Thank you.
Okay, next we move on to item 2.1, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Our first one is honoring K-9 Nitro for his service to the city of Coalinga.
Good evening, everybody. K-9 Nitro started his career with the police department in March of 2022. Nitro had several narcotic fines and assisted with several building searches on various calls for service over a short career. His actions helped make calls for service that much safer for the officers that worked with him. Nitro was not just another dog or another piece of equipment for us. He was a dedicated member of this department with the unselfish goal of making the community safer by helping find illegal drugs and criminals so they could be taken off the streets. Nitro's untimely passing has not been an easy one on the members of this department, especially those who had the chance to work with them both on patrol and in training. This plaque here is dedicated to, it's presented to the Coalinga Peace Officers Association, and will be hung in the police department to serve as a reminder of how one's selfless dedication can make a difference in the community. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, officers. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2, presentation of NLC Service Line Warranty Program by HomeServe. Sean?
I can give a quick intro. We were approached by Bill Coffey. He's going to be doing a presentation on a program for residents in Coalinga that is kind of it's like an insurance program for water and sewer service lines in the community. As we know, the responsibility of property owners from the mains to their houses in terms of water and sewer lines. We have backups on sewer lines. We have sewer breaks, water breaks, and then also we have issues sometimes in our households related to water leaks or pipe breaks. And so they offer, they have partnered with the National League of Cities and looking for a partnership with the city to allow them to promote this program and offer this program to community members here in the city. And Bill will go through the presentation, kind of explain what's covered, but it's kind of a nice insurance program beyond someone's kind of homeowner's insurance. When these particular issues occur within either your yard or in your house. So Bill, if he's on, he should be on Zoom. Robert's going to get him set up so he can present. And then if the council has any questions after, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Sean. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great. So first of all, thank you so much, Honorable Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to present our products that we can offer the city. As Sean said, these are optional products for the city, and we help to address the public policy issue of aging infrastructure. Infrastructure is getting older. We offer a water lateral line, sewer lateral line, and in-home plumbing. So 3 products to the city, things that can help residents when they're faced with emergencies on these lines to get them fixed quickly and properly. Sean, are you able to bring up my presentation on your end? Because I was trying to share my screen and I couldn't do it. Oh, here, maybe I can now. 1 second.
We can see your screen.
Yeah, I just don't, got it. Would it be possible to advance the slides on your end, Sean?
Yeah, I think Robert has it loaded.
Okay, great. So on the first slide, it's an overview for the city of Coalinga. If we look at the next slide, I'm Bill Coffey, and I'm Regional Director with HomeServe. We provide this slide to give you a little bit of information about our company. One of the goals that Sean had was to vet our company and find out everything that he could about us. So we provide some of this information here. We've been here in the U.S. for 20 years. We have been partnered with the National League of Cities since 2010. And this is the only National League of Cities service line program that they offer. And we have been the administrator for 15 years just about. So it's been a very successful partnership. To date, we've had over 1,200 utilities and municipalities that have approved the program. Council members like yourself that have looked at the program and decided that it was good and was beneficial for your residents. And we have a little bit over 4.8 million customers. In the last 3 years, we've completed about 2.2 million jobs and saved customers $1 billion in savings. So averaging it out, it's $500 per job. And some of them, of course, get very expensive when they have to get into the street or the sidewalk and dig those up. Slide 3, aging infrastructure. The first point, we cover ground shifting, we cover tree root intrusion, which is the biggest one, corrosion, and fluctuating temperatures. So those are what are covered with the water line program, the sewer line program. These lines are out of sight, out of mind. Oftentimes, homeowners don't know that they're responsible for these lines until it's too late when they do have an emergency because they're out of sight, out of mind. And oftentimes they think, oh, the city should look after this. And you never would go on their property to look after these water and sewer lateral lines, or they think it's covered by their homeowner's policy. And oftentimes that's not the case unless you have a rider. Slide 6, please. So some of the solutions for the city of Coalinga and your residents. This program provides a free direct mail public awareness campaign for the city. Timely repairs that will be done by local area contractors that know how to work well with the city, hold right permits for jobs if they need them, and to do good work on our behalf. There is no cost to the program. We take care of everything. We only market via direct mail, so there's a few letters that will go out each year, and the city would approve each one before they go out. We look after all the postage, the printing of the letter, mailing them, as well as all of the turnkey marketing, billing, claims, and customer service. So the only responsible for the city is the approval of the direct mail campaign before they go out. And again, nothing's mailed without your approval first, and there's no cost to the city to participate. We take care of this, like I said, and we help to educate residents about their service line responsibilities on the outside. This is an optional program, and it's off bill, so customers, homeowners can decide if they want to enroll or not, and protect themselves against any kind of costly plumbing and sewer line repairs. Slide 6, as I mentioned, we have 3 products: the sewer lateral line program, the water line protection program, and in-home plumbing. So the sewer program, slide 7, would cover from the sewer main to the exterior wall of the home. It provides $8,500 of coverage and takes care of any kind of repair or replacement of a broken, cracked, or clogged sewer line, or septic line. Not the tank itself, but if somebody had septic, we do cover the septic line. Very affordable, $9.49 per month, and it can be canceled at any time. The second product, water line coverage, that also provides $8,500 of coverage, and it's unlimited claims for either of these. So you could have 1 repair in a year, or you could have 5. Every time the contractor rolls up, there's $8,500 to direct bill to home serve to take care of that job. If the job was over that amount, let's say it was $9,000, the homeowner would know, and then your resident would just pay the contractor $500. We take care of the rest. Again, we're going to use local area licensed contractors. When there's a problem, your residents will call us. They may still call the city because if they have a $1,000 water bill due to a leak, they're going to want to get it checked out. But they will call us if they've enrolled in the program and have our contractor go out to take care of the repair. All repairs have a 1-year guarantee with them, and there's no annual limit, like I mentioned. No deductibles, forms, or paperwork either. Just 1 phone call to us, and we don't require any pre-inspection. So typically, 40-50 years is about the average lifespan for the water and sewer lateral lines. So a home built in 1980 is right there at the cusp. And again, no pre-inspection. So as long as your resident wants to enroll, they may. Third product, in-home plumbing, covers the water line and the sewer line inside the home, the line under the slab or the basement, and the lines that would go to a sink or a toilet. If there was a problem, let's say that there was a emergency to unclog the toilet, the contractor would go out, unclog the toilet, and go on to the next job. Nothing more from your resident if they were enrolled other than calling us to get the claim process going. At the end of the claims, we send out a customer service card to everybody to see how we did. And we average 4.8 out of 5 stars. So we do very well, but we do look to see if there's ever any problems with the contractors. If there are, we'll be sure to take care of that and bring new ones on. There is a 5-page agreement that the city would approve in order to participate in the program. There's 3 parts to it, which Sean has, the agreement. And the first part is we do require the use of the city logo for the marketing and billing and advertising that we do and to promote the program. It's a 3-year agreement with 1 renewals after that. And because we take care of all the billing turnkey, there is, the city is fully indemnified from any legal action. If there were an issue, the homeowners would come to us. And again, we look after about 4.8 million customers. Everybody has more than one of these products. So we have about 8 million plus service plans in place right now throughout the U.S. And here's a list of some of our participants in California. So the city of Stockton and Fresno are participating in the program, both of them. Fresno this year, Stockton 2 years ago. Also Yuba City, City of Antioch, Daly City, and Vallejo, as well as water districts like Alameda County Water District, Contra Costa Water District, San Jose Water, Cal Water, and Golden State throughout the whole state. So again, the program is optional to enroll. There's no cost to the city to have the program in place. We look after everything, turnkey, and there are no public funds used to promote the program or to look after the program. I'm going to turn it over now. That's all the material that I have. Are there any questions from council, please?
Yes, I have one question. Possibly a couple more. What's the on the timeline of when the damage is done? You have someone come out and service it. What's the timeline for reimbursement? Is it usually pretty quick, or is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
It's pretty quick, and the majority of the claims, they're all because we direct bill up to $8,500. So if the job is under $8,500, there is no out of pocket for one of your residents. The contractor simply bills us, so there is no waiting for any reimbursement with this program.
Okay, so the contractor would submit the bill, not the individual itself?
Correct. When there's an issue, the homeowner calls us and the contractor goes out to determine what's required for the job, let us know, get the approval to do the work, and then again, pull any permits and do the things they need to do to get the job completed.
Okay. Now, you're saying it's within 24 hours. What's the timeline if you can't wait and you have to hire another agency? How long does it take for you guys to reimburse on that?
Sure. We're not probably going to need any other agencies. We'll have several contractors lined up that will fully vet if the council approves the program. So these contractors will be in place after the program goes live, which typically is about 2 months after the approval. So we don't rush anything. Since we just mark it by direct mail, we make sure that everything's in place, including some things with the first letter that goes out to launch the program, some information for social media, information for your website, and information like frequently asked questions that you can post.
Okay. Now, my next question is, once, let's say, for instance, I get the insurance, how many days or weeks does it take for it to be active?
It's in place after 30 days. So if you have an emergency today, let's say you had a sewer line emergency, the program is in place for unknown emergencies, not one today.
Okay. Council.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Great. And you?
Doing good. So I just had a couple quick questions. So what does participation from the city look like? I see it says free direct mailers, and that it's an optional service. So what's the real need for the city to be involved in this?
Sure. The city's only involvement is the time that you spend to approve the letters before they go out. So again, we look after everything, turnkey, all the enrollments, et cetera, same with the billing. So, and nothing is mailed without your approval first. So let's say that you approve the program tonight, and in 2 months we're mailing the first letter. So that would be your involvement, is to get that first letter approved, and then we send it out. And then each year we send out up to 6 letters a year, and with your approval before each one going out.
So I guess my question wasn't clear. I mean, like, you don't need our approval to send out mailers. You can do that right now. You don't need us involved in this at all. So, like, why would the city be involved in this? Like, period. Sure. We don't. This isn't something that we usually get involved with, is offering third-party services for other people. So I'm just curious, like, why is this important to the city itself? I mean, I know your service is important to those who you service, and I've been looking it up, and it looks like you have a lot of happy customers, but seriously, at a city level, why do you need us involved?
Sure. Well, we come to the city first so that you can know about our company, and you can vet our company and decide if you want to participate in the program. Again, like I mentioned, There is a 5-page agreement that requires the use of the city logo for the marketing that we do. So that's the key to the program, is that we need to be able to market the program to your residents. This is something that they currently don't have and probably can't even get a whole, put a program like this in place. This is very unique across the U.S. I'd imagine the council has never even seen a presentation like this before. That's how unique it is. And so we come to the city first, get your approval, make sure that you want to participate, and then we look after everything turnkey after that.
So, I mean, technically, you could just send out the mailers regardless, and you don't need us involved at all. And then the only downside is you couldn't use our logo, and you wouldn't, I guess, be in some kind of weird partnership with the city that doesn't actually gain us any money or you any money, but just allows you to send out mailers every now and then to let the people know that there's an insurance option available.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, and that is the goal of the program, is to make this product available for your residents, let them decide if they want to enroll or not, because it is optional. Typically, we'll see about 10% of the residents enroll, so it's not everybody, but there's certainly quite a few that enroll in the beginning because it's a new, exciting program. And if we were to just mail letters to your residents without the logo and without any knowledge of the city knowing about our company or vetting us, you get a lot of questions between council members, staff, City Manager Trejo and Sean, and you would have no familiarity with our company. So by coming to the city first, we let the council know about the program, see if you would like to participate, just similar to what we presented recently in Stockton and Fresno and so forth.
All right, that's fair. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Thank you.
I do have one more question. Is this only coverage for residential, or does it cover, or is there a difference for commercial?
Sure. It's residential only, so this program is designed just to take care of and help out your residents when they're faced with these sewer line or water line emergencies.
Thank you. Any more questions? No. Okay, what would, we can actually, just information, thank you. Okay, we move on to our third item, presentation of new wildland fire engine.
Good evening, everyone. I'll make this short because the guys are outside waiting for us. But about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, council approved purchase of a different type of firefighting apparatus equipment that's specifically designed and built for wildland and vegetation fires. We took delivery of that vehicle last fall, and by the time we got lights, sirens, decals, and training done, we put it into service in June of this year. Within 9 days, it was already punched out for its first assignment, and it has done 4 assignments so far for a total of 22 days out already since the beginning of June. So I'm actually surprised it's here because it just got back last night. But Captain Rodriguez and his crews are out front and ready to show it off for you guys.
Sorry, can you tell the public why that's a benefit to us and how it brings money to the city?
Yeah, so good question. So the Type 3 fire apparatus brings in money to the city by us going out and covering all the fires that are happening in California and throughout the state. We have an agreement with the state and we have an agreement with the county to provide resources. And what that does is it gives them the resources, but it gives us the revenue because they pay for the piece of equipment, they pay for the crew, they pay for the backfill that we had to fill their spots back at the station for overtime, and then they provide a 10% administrative fee. So I can tell you offhand quickly numbers since I started here in 2020 and we started going out on out of county OES assignments. We grossed 1.2 million in revenue and we netted about 750,000 from it. So it's a big benefit to our general fund and our revenue. So with that being said, the guys are ready to show it off for you. Let's head outside.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take about a 15-minute break so we can go outside and check it out, whoever's willing to.
Okay, did you tell him to fill out a sheet? No. You got one?
Our next item, sorry it's a little warm out there, but it's nice and cool in here. Okay, we're going to move on to citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item within the jurisdiction of the council. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern, identify themselves, and use the microphone. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the city council this evening, and all items will be referred to staff for a follow-up and a report. Citizens' comments submitted in writing to the city clerk by 5 p.m. on the day of the city council meeting shall be distributed to the city council and included in the record. However, they will not be read. Do we have any comment cards? For this one?
For citizens' comments,
but Okay.
Robin did do one for this. No? Never mind, she did not.
Council? Okay, would anybody like to come up? Hilda?
Good evening, I'm just Hilda Crawford, and I'm here to let you know just a little bit about our summer reading program. It will be next week will be our last week. You can still come into the library and sign up. This Saturday we will be having magazine collages as a craft, and I'm not certain on the time, but it might be 1 o'clock, but you can call the library and ask. And then next Saturday we'll be having African drummers. I know we've had them before, and then I know they were at one of the fall festivals or something that Scott had. But you're more than welcome to come in. It's babies to 11-year-olds, from teenagers from 12 to 17, and then adults. And you do get incentives when you finish the program. And we've partnered with, the library has partnered with the theater show for our finale. We're going to show on August 3rd. We will show the movie, and I think it's Harold and the Purple Crayon. So if you complete the program, you get a free ticket to come view this movie. So I just encourage everybody just to come in. I know school's coming. It's going to be starting in the middle of August, but still, it's not too late to come and enjoy some. We are a cooling center, so you can come in, air conditioning, and still, just if you have any little ones, on Wednesdays, from 10 to 11, we have our little ones that come in and run amok. But anyway, they do story hour, and it's really fun because our children's librarian, Gina, is really good at what she does. So you can come in and bring them in every Wednesday from 10 to 11. And we still have programs going on during the summer, even during the school week. Mondays and Thursdays, Nathan will do coding and some of the programs. Mondays and Thursdays, he does 2 programs. Then we'll have crocheting on Wednesdays. That's Alma. So if you want to learn how to crochet, she'll bring you into crochet. On the 4th Tuesday of the month, I do Fun Eats, my Fun Eats program. On Wednesdays, I think it's a second Wednesday, they also do coloring. And our adult specialist will be doing, does a little craft for the adults. Really, it includes everybody. But we're there at the library. Don't forget us. For those of you that do not have library cards, you can come in and get one. I'm always grilling the city council members to make sure they have their cards and to get one if they don't have one. And just come in and enjoy the library. I promise I won't be mean and yell at you and for talking or throw you out of the library.
Thank you. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Move on to our public hearings. We have none tonight. We'll move on to item number 5, our consent calendar. We've pulled one item, changed one over to item number 21. Is there any that council would like to pull and discuss?
I'd like to pull 5.5. 5.16 and 5.17.
If council's not pulling any additional items, I just want to point out, in case anybody had any questions on 521, that Ally is here if you had questions on that item. And then we will have one public comment on 5.17 before you vote on the consent calendar.
Any other items, council? Okay, we move on to 5.5. Councilman Bosford.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could get a quick explanation just for the public of what the 5.5 budget report, quarter ending June 30th.
Okay. Let's see. So quarterly, the finance department will provide an ending per quarter of a summary of what the city have expended to date versus what was budgeted. And in here for this quarter, and also keep in mind that this is the end of the fiscal year and we're not 100% complete with this. So this is what we would consider an unaudited number. And what that means is that we still have adjustments that we will be accruing back to last fiscal year, depending on when the services was provided and the products were received. And we do have a favorable general fund variance where what was expended versus what was actually budgeted of 2.1 million.
So when you're saying it's a favorable fund variance, what exactly does that mean?
It means that we are using 2.1 million less than what was budgeted at that point in time.
Okay, great. That's good news. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 516, Councilman Bosford.
Yeah, so this item, authorized Assistant City Manager to execute tax order with Rincon Consultants to assist the City of Coalinga in annexing city-owned parcels containing utility facilities to the city. So I just wondering, for the public's benefit, if we can get just a little summary on it.
Oh, sure. So the city owns property outside of the, like we call it, contiguous part of the city limits. We have reservoirs like the Derrick Reservoir, Calaveras Reservoir. We also have the water treatment plant. And we also have other facilities that are owned on land the city owns, and the Palmer Reservoir up on the top of the hill. And so in order for us, what happens is when these are, although they're city-owned properties, the county still maintains land use control over the property. So we want to do any kind of additional improvements or any types of like new facilities, like what we're doing with the new camera systems. We're looking to build, the police department needs to put a new pole up and a new tower up at the Derrick Reservoir site in order to repeat and provide that wireless service to the overall camera for the network. And so we've been talking with the county in the long drawn out permitting process. So if the city owns these properties and they're actually in the city limits, we control the land use on being able to actually do improvements. Same thing at the water plant on any kind of new large facilities. And so we still have to go through them for permitting. And so in order to try and bring back that land use ability to the city, we're using it really triggered based on the police department's need to put this tower up and what the process would look like. So we also took advantage and say, hey, why don't we address all of the properties all at once and do them all? And they're all existing facilities, so it should be a relatively quick process. And so we've talked to LAFCO, we've met with Rincon, they put together a proposal, so depending on what actually is required at the time we submit the applications, it may be less than what we're requesting in terms of the overall budget. But it's basically, that's a scope of work based on our previous communications with the county and processing through LAFCO for the annexation. So they're going to prepare the applications. We'll be coming back with resolutions. So that's kind of what we're doing is we're trying to just, some of it's some housekeeping stuff around some of our utility facilities that are owned by the city.
And are these the same thing as what they would call islands?
Yeah, you can call them non-contiguous parcels or island annexations, similar to the airport, the property that's off of Jane Avenue near I think it's the CDF property there as you head out to Avenal, that 400 acres that we own out there. And so we're just kind of shoring up properties that we own, so we're able to go through that process.
So the reason I brought this up is because, we have a lot of like these islands like that just separate the city out. And I know that a long time ago I had asked, like, why don't we just annex the whole thing? Like, why is our city going to stay small so that LAFCO? And what I found out is that Fresno County wants a lot of the revenue that comes from different areas that are in that place. And so, but we'd like that revenue. That'd be good revenue for us. So I'm just wondering, like, last I heard, for LAFCO didn't even like doing these islands.
Well,
is there any idea that we could move forward with, like, annexing more than just an island area? Because there's a lot of these places that are in between us and the annexed area that we are providing services for, and they're buying out of city services, and it just doesn't seem fair that we service and we market these areas, but yet the county gets the tax revenue.
Yeah, so with these types of island annexations, the only reason why we're permitted to annex these is because they're basically public facilities. So if this was land that was for private development, they wouldn't allow us to do any kind of island annexations. And state hospital is kind of the same thing; it's still considered a public facility. In terms of, there are standards of annexation in the county, in our tax sharing agreements, as well as in the standards of annexation that are an additional addendum to the tax sharing agreement, dictates how we can annex and how we can grow into our county. It has to be contiguous. You have to have a certain amount of imminent development in order to move that. So you can't just annex 1,000 acres and then not build on it just to absorb it.
Well, I've been to some cities beforehand where their city limit starts and there's absolutely nothing for miles. And so it just makes me believe that because that tax revenue is near us, they care and they want that. But if we didn't have anything going on there, they probably wouldn't have any problem with us taking it over. And so I'm just wondering, like, I just want to put it out there to the public. That's why I said I pulled this for the public, that once again, we're moving to annex very small areas of town and leave that tax revenue on the board for the county. And I know there's tax revenue sharing agreements, but at some point in time, this town has to grow, and it's almost like that we can't grow in certain ways because of the fact of these annexation rules that the county wants to push. And I remember last time when we were talking about this, the county said that they'd spend $10 million to fight us for when we were talking about, hey, why can't we annex the oil fields? Why can't we annex that stuff? Right? Because obviously we service that stuff. Those people want to give their tax dollars to us, but they're giving it to the county. And so, and I don't know, maybe that's not a deal anymore because now in California we've decided, oh, it's not, not the way to go. But I just figured I'd point this out to the public. So I appreciate your information on this. Thank you so much.
Any other questions about it, council? Okay, we move on to our next item, 5.17, and I believe we have a comment card for that one.
Yes. Did you want to hear that first, or do you?
Sure. Yeah.
Jose Vega.
Pardon me if you can't hear me, I'm not good at this, but good evening, council members and staff. I wanted to be here tonight to speak on about agenda item 5.17 to authorize police recruitment to sponsorship to be extended to non-city employees. Sorry, I'm a little stuffed, so I'll read a little slow. While we have many incredible city staff members, my concern is that by only offering this program to city employees, you limit the opportunity of possible recruit to some other residents who have dreamed of serving this community. A lot of negativity surrounding police departments tends to be about community involvement and approachability to police officers. Often this is due to a lack of experience and training. They are taught to enforce the law and forget that they are part of a community that they serve. I mean no disrespect to any of the young officers. I would praise them for knowing their path at such a young age. However, that being said, I do believe that one of the best attributes a good officer can bring is life experience, and that's hard to get at 20 years of age. In my youth, I had several Kalinga police officers who made an impact on my life, not just because of their badge, but because they cared and you knew it. They took the time to know the people they served, both good and bad. If you were in the wrong, they still spoke to you with respect. They would get respect from the community, not because they carry a gun and badge, but because the way they carried themselves. You knew they were there to do a job, but they did it in a manner that you knew it wasn't personal. They always wanted the best for everyone. Those are the types of officers we need more of. And by opening up the sponsorship program to non-city employees, you'll open up the opportunity to a lot of men and women out there who otherwise might not be able to apply. Take myself, for example. Say I wanted to become a police officer and serve my hometown. I'm married with 3 daughters. How can I tell my wife, hey, I'm gonna go take 6 months and go follow a dream? Oh, and by the way, there's not gonna be any paychecks coming in. I'll be needing police assistance pretty soon after that. Please believe, personally, I believe I'm well respected within the community, and I say that humbly. I'm a business owner. I coach multiple youth sports. I sit on multiple boards and committees. I am very much involved with the people and the families in this town. I also bring a respect and commitment to Kalinga and its citizens by growing up on these streets. Through my life experience here, that would make me a wonderful addition to the police department. This program would also allow someone like me to apply and possibly be accepted to go through the academy while still being able to support and care for my family. How many good men and women who live here might want to serve but are unable to simply because they currently don't qualify for the sponsorship? I would strongly urge you to expand this program to include all residents of Kalinga who might be interested. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Bosworth.
All right. Well, maybe I should have asked my tough questions before, before Jose got up to speak, because they are tough questions. I love this program. I'll just have to say I think a lot of great comes out of this program, and I'm in favor of it. I'm also in favor of checks and balances. And I remember there was rumors a while back that one person that we sent through this made it a substantial amount of money in overtime. And so I'm wondering so there's a couple issues I have with this program. One is just asking about, like, is there going to be overtime available, and could it equal that substantial amount that the rumor was that it equaled last time? And then, will we have any liability in the commute for a person going from point A to point B? Because we have had some issues where some people have gotten accidents on that. So that's the second. And then the third that I really haven't, I just have an issue with it, is that I don't like the idea that we're going to give preference to residents that are bilingual in English and Spanish, because I don't think that should be a preference given to this position. I think that I'd like to remove that part out of it. But I'm cool with all the rest of it, but I just had those questions about whether or not the overtime, if that could accumulate a large amount of overtime, and if we would have a substantial risk with the travel.
So the overtime issue had been resolved, so travel time will not count for compensable time. So they're paid from the time that they would arrive at the academy until the time that they leave the academy, not their travel time from Kalinga to Fresno or Hanford. And in addition to that, in regards to the liability, it depends, and I know that's a tough response, but if they are using a city vehicle and they cause an accident and are at fault, then yes, there could be some liability. Their time for traveling is not compensable, so if they are taking a personal vehicle or if they are in an accident and it's not their fault, then we don't really have liability. But you could always remove that and say that they need to use their own vehicle and they can't use a city vehicle.
And when we're talking about I think that when we were talking about overtime last time, it was time that somebody submitted it as study time.
So we're not paying for study time. It's going to be the time that they're at the academy.
Okay. Those are just questions that I had. And like I said, they're tough credit questions. I hate to
And you
ask right
can-
after you get up and speak, because I think you'd be awesome and amazing if you did apply for this.
So you can remove anything that you wouldn't like as part of the program and make a motion to approve it with those changes if you'd like. So if you want to state that they could not use a city vehicle to commute, you can do that. And then you could also remove the third item, which says preference given to residents that are bilingual in English and Spanish.
I think I'll listen in on what the rest of the council has to say.
I think that should be just open up to everybody, not just one particular thing, English or Spanish. It needs to be open to everybody, whoever's actually feels that they're qualified for the job.
So I just want to clarify, it is open to everybody, and so for the public who's not able to see it, there's, number 2 says priority given to honorably discharged military veterans, and then 3 says preference given to residents bilingual in English and Spanish. So anyone can apply, and when you go through an oral board interview here, you get points based on how you answer questions. And so I don't know for certain, I think it's 4 points that you get added to your score if you're a veteran. And then it would be like 2 points for a preference. So everybody can apply. It's just that hypothetically, if Manny applied and Jim applied and they had the same score, Manny would get 2 additional points because he's bilingual, because that's a service that benefits the city. But anybody could apply. You can still remove that section. I just want to clarify because it's not only open to people who are bilingual.
Well, and I do see the benefit of bilingualness in the city. I just don't think it's fair to make it a preference to where some person doesn't get the job over somebody else based on whether or not they're bilingual or not. I guess I don't have a problem with the vehicle, because it would be a position type of deal where you would need, someone that's, basically they're going to give up their life to be able to try to be a city employee as a police officer, which I'm hoping, will this be for local people?
They would have to be a Coalinga resident.
They would have to be a Coalinga resident. Okay, so I'm even more in favor of that. So, I don't know, what do you think?
I like it, and I'm good with all of it. I think that military bilingual is a plus. The point system, I think, is a fair way to do it. So, and the only concern would be the use of the vehicle, but I think it's a good program.
Yeah, I as well agree on it. A lot of cities, I look into cities, they do from uniforms to health, keeping, and they get points over that. I know the state hospital does something about if you're bilingual or you have another language, not just Spanish or English. But I think it's a good idea and everything, and I'm with Councilman about the vehicle.
Just so everybody knows, even though they speak a different language, no matter what it is, even if they do get hired on, they are required to take special testing to even be certified to speak that language. Once they do, if they do, then they actually get paid a little bit more just to be able to translate legally for the department and the city.
Yeah, the mayor is right. Even in the hospital, even if I know Spanish, I can't just go in there. Oh, I get 2 points or a raise because I know Spanish. You have to know the proper words, the proper translation to other individuals in order to be certified as a bilingual person.
So, question, would they need to take that test to prove they're bilingual before they actually would receive those extra points?
Yes.
Okay, I think council's on board on this. What would council like to do? We got a motion to approve the consent calendar as it is.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as it is.
And I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Horn.
Aye. Okay, we're going to move on to ordinance presentation, discussion, potential action items. Our first one is appoint new planning commissioner to planning commission. Sean.
And before Sean gets started, I just want to let you know, before you vote on this item, we also have a public comment on this item.
Mayor, Council, staff is recommending that council appoint one new planning commissioner from the applicants received for the advertisement and from the general, or from someone from the general public due to a recent vacancy. Commissioner Pruitt recently resigned from the Planning Commission, leaving a vacancy on the Planning Commission, which will be need to be filled. In June, staff was given direction from the council to advertise the vacancy and accept applications from interested residents. Staff advertised available position as a public notice as well as on social media and the city's website. And as of the writing of the report, we received one application, and we did have someone come in today to City Hall, which I think might be the public comment, of someone else is interested in the vacancy. So the person that is appointed to the Planning Commission will be appointed to serve out the remainder of Commissioner Pruitt's term, which is set to end on January 17th, 2027. And so staff received an application from Charles Yaden, and attached on the report is a copy of the application for the council's review. Staff had advised the applicant the city council would be considering an appointment to the commission tonight, and that it would be appropriate to attend should the council have any questions. Once the council is ready to appoint a candidate, a member of the council shall make a motion nominating a member of the public to the commission and vote accordingly. So with that, Mayor, I'll leave it to you.
Okay. I believe we have a citizen's comment on this item.
Chris Cheney.
Hello, council. Thank you for your time. My apologies that I did not turn in the application sooner. But I'm here today to express my interest in serving on the Planning Commission. I did look over the application, and some things that I think really suit me for this job is I'm born and raised on the west side of Fresno County, or as I like to say, the forgotten side of Fresno County. And I understand some of the unique struggles that we face out here. I grew up in San Joaquin. I'm an alumni of West Hills College in Coalinga, and I'm currently employed by Coalinga College as a faculty member, and I live here in the community. And I'd just like to say, you know, one thing I've learned through working with the college is big picture planning, and I really think that's something that the city needs as well, because sometimes looking at projects for what's good for oneself or family or friends isn't always what's best for the city. And in projects that I've worked on with the college, I've really learned that big picture planning side of things. And so I'm going to keep this short and sweet, but I appreciate your consideration for the position of Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and also we have an application that was sent in from Charles Yeaton. His application says in here his experience and knowledge. He's moved here back in 1988. He's watched this little town grow through the times, good times and the bad times. He also feels that he's gotten to know over the years what and where things work the best. He's been in this process of learning the codes that regulates this town and tries to attend the council meetings to know what is currently going on. He feels he can make smart decisions on what's best for the citizens of Coalinga. He's been and currently is a business owner here in town as well. And he's most recently retired from the state of California, so he's got a little bit more time to be able to commit to the Planning Commission. So what would council have any questions?
So, in the past when we've done this, and I'm not saying we need to continue the practice, but we've we've invited each applicant up and give them 3 minutes to kind of give us a spiel. We've also in the past extended this to folks that have not made the application deadline. And so, and then we got to ask some questions of those folks, and then afterwards we waited and see if anybody wanted to make a motion. And then we ran the first motion, and then if there was another motion, went to them until we were done. So I don't know if that's something you guys are interested in doing, giving everyone a shot to speak and then us ask questions.
Would you two be willing to do that tonight? And if there's anybody else in the crowd that would like to as well? Okay.
I'm Michelle Helmar, District 1, and I'm a planning commissioner currently. And this might be a little bit premature, but I did want to be here to express support to you for Mr. Cheney. My experience with him started when through his professorship at Coalinga College. And I know him to be someone who can look at the big picture, who does his homework, who takes the context of a situation or an issue, looks at the rules, the laws, the regulations that apply to it before he makes decisions and recommendations. Basically, he possesses the knowledge and the skills that we look for as planning commissioners when we make assessments and make our recommendations to you as the city council. So I just wanted to say that I'm here to support Mr. Cheney in his application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Cheney.
So I kind of had my 3-minute spiel already, but I can give a little more history. I moved to Coalinga in the fall of 1999 to attend West Hills College, and came from San Joaquin, and so I joke often that I moved to the big city on the west side here, and really fell in love with Coalinga, fell in love with the community, with the people of Coalinga, and so much so that after going off to college, getting my bachelor's degree, when I was able to be employed in the area, I moved back, and I've been back in Coalinga as a full-time resident since May of 2011, and recently just became a homeowner in Coalinga, and very proud to be here and be part of this community. And I'm excited for the changes that we've seen here lately, but I'm excited to see where we're going in the future. You know, I don't know what more to really say, but you know, other than I'm optimistic of what we can do in Coalinga, and I think a lot of that is proof from the good work that's done by, you know, our council, by our city staff, and by our you know, fire and police department. Because I know that's a struggle in San Joaquin, where I grew up, is the lack of good fire and police protection. And I think that's one thing that is going to cement us in as staying a viable city that will hopefully grow here in the future. Thank you.
Now, hold on a second. Council have any questions?
Yeah. So, are you going to be able to have the time to put into this position if you were selected?
Yes. Yeah, I could have it.
And you're okay with listening to Sean talk for a long time? A long, long time?
I've heard Sean talk for a long, long time when I'm not obligated to be there, so.
I think the only thing I have a question for is, I know you work, some of your shifts are during the morning, afternoon, and some are in the evening. The meetings that are in the evening, are you going to be able to manage attending those meetings?
Yeah, some of my class delivery has changed, especially post-COVID, to where we do more distance ed, and I have a little more freedom and flexibility. So if there are meetings that conflict with classes, I do have, between that and also some of my colleagues being able to sub for me, I have ways that I can make it work when I have evening classes that interfere. So.
Do you have any, sometimes, you know, dealing with the city and something will come up where not everyone agrees. Not everyone in the community agrees. For instance, the cannabis facilities. And in the past, we've had certain people fill positions that have a specific bias. I think that person voted no on every single one of them through planning commission. Great planning commissioner, loved him to death. But, and he was very open and honest when he was picked for planning commission. So I just figured I would ask the question, if you have any biases or any conflicts that would keep you from being able to vote on something in an unbiased manner.
I do not, and I'd like to share kind of a little story, something that I dealt with recently at the college. I serve on our academic senate at the college, and so we take care of a lot of decision-making on how certain issues are handled on the campus. I'm the representative for the career technical education field, and we had a pretty hotly contested issue dealing with textbooks that went on at the campus, and I had very, very passionate supporters on both sides of the issue, and really I felt like my job as their representative was to make the decision based on what my constituents felt. And I actually went to a conference for a different topic, but then everyone that I talked to, I was asking how their campus handled it. And so I took in my input from my constituents, and then I went out to other people and tried to take in their input, because I didn't want my decision based on my feelings or the emotions that we had at a meeting. And so, whether I'm biased or not, because we all naturally have biases, I really think that when you're serving the public, that your job is to get the best information you can from multiple sources and speak with a voice that supports your citizens. So that's, just as an example of, that's how I handled something professionally, and that's how I tend to handle things on the planning commission as well.
Any more questions, council?
Yeah, I believe you served on the board for the Ducks Unlimited?
Yes.
Yes, and thank you for that. I wish you could bring it back. But thank you for applying. Thank you, for your kind words. And just like jumping on the wagon with Councilman Bosberg, how would you react with like he was saying, the approachment of sometimes to the citizens that, you get these, remarks, and, they don't, basically, you sit there and you're like, you don't know me, how can you judge me with that? How do you come out, and what would be your response to a subject that you had no idea what's happening? And
again, this is another area where I feel like I have some expertise. I teach mainly welding and truck driving, but I'm an ag faculty at the college, and there's a lot of people that windshield farm and have questions about what's going on at the farm. And being that I'm one of the few faculty that live in town, I'm the person that they see, at a fish fry, or at, the wine walk, or any number of other, events that are put on in town. And so it's pretty regular that I'm approached by people because they know where I work that have questions about things. And sometimes I have answers or can communicate that. And other times the best thing I can say is, I'm really not sure, but if you want, you can give me a call and I'll ask the right people, or this is who you need to talk to about that. A lot of times when people stop you in a situation like that, they just want to be heard, and sometimes they're not so concerned about what your answer is. But I like to always try and give them an option that I'm going to get them some kind of resolution to it, or give them some kind of information back. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions, council?
I've got one quick one. Social media, it can go either way. It depends on what you put out there and how you put it out there. Are you somebody that uses social media a lot? And when you do you take a hard side, or what's your philosophy on social media?
So I do use social media kind of more for my personal life. Taking a hard side on anything on social media, you're just banging your head against the wall. It's hard to change someone's mind when you can have a discussion face to face, and it's going to be impossible on social media. I'd rather spend my time, especially if it deals with the community, in the community, talking to people. I think you'll get further even if there's a disagreement by being there face to face, having that FaceTime, being able to talk to them. I think anything that the citizens need to be informed about can be put out by the city, or the planning commission as a whole, and it shouldn't be discussed by a bunch of individuals fighting like little kids on there, so.
Any other questions, council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Eden.
City Council, public, hello. So, a little bit about me, like you were saying, I've lived in town since 1988. I came up here from San Diego County to go to college to be a diesel mechanic, or ag mechanic, and then switch over to diesel mechanic. I've had a few jobs through my life. I got hired out of the school district here in town as a mechanic. Then I went to the prison to go work, and as of last December, I retired from the state of California. So I have plenty of time on my hands to do meetings whenever is necessary. But a little bit of history also is I've seen this town grow through good times and bad times. I've seen good things, I've seen bad things. You know, and I'd like to put my input on, you know, if they want to put a business in certain areas, it's like it won't do good there, it'll do better over here, or that would do good, or this wouldn't do good, or this business might do good or might not do good. I don't know. I've never been on a planning commission. I really don't know what to expect, but I'm definitely going in open-minded, and hopefully I can make a difference. Because I've lived in this town more than half my life. So to me, I'm not from San Diego anymore. I'm from Coalinga.
Council, have any questions?
Yeah, so if chosen, are you going to be willing to stand and listen to Sean?
Like I said, I worked for the state of California for many years and have had to listen to a whole lot of information. So I think I can bear it, just don't smell my water bottle. Anyways.
He does have a lot of good information and does a lot of work. And so, you know, sometimes those meetings can drag on if it's a very important subject. And so just making sure that everyone realizes that.
Yes, I go through yearly training at the prison. It's the same thing over and over again for a week. If I can handle that, handle Sean.
We'll see about that. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking. All right, and then my other question is, same thing about the biases. If there's things that come up that have some kind of bias, I know we all do have our own personal biases. Are you able to set aside your personal bias and listen to the constituents? Is there something out there that just really, you're just a hard no on?
I think I'm very unbiased. You know, it really comes down to, it doesn't matter what I think of something. It's matter whatever's best for the community. Even if I'm dead set against something, but I think it would benefit the city in more than one way, then I will go that way instead of my own personal belief.
Okay, and then I guess the last question that I have is, what kind of, like, we had a scenario not too long ago where someone wanted to open up like a mini hotel, and it was right across the street from the school. You aware of the situation?
No, I'm not.
No, okay. So, someone wanted to open up a hotel right next to the school. We had a lot of people complaining. And, technically, I mean, the person probably should have been able to open it up. But as far as like what the use was of and what the people thought, the people were against, and the people came in very loudly against. And I think we had one or maybe two planning commissioners who sided with the applicant, and all the rest of them sided with the community. And I know this is kind of I didn't give him the same question, but I'm wondering, like, how would you address a situation like that?
Well, honestly, I think it would be a bad idea because unfortunately, you don't know what kind of clientele that you're going to get there. You might get people that are going to spend the night, they want to drink, they want to get loud, they want to who knows what. And I really don't think that a situation like that should be close to the school districts. I think that should be away from there. There's just certain businesses, in my opinion, that should not be near a school district. So I guess that's maybe a little bias right there. I think overall, I think what's best for the community is not to have a situation like that. Because we have a whole lot of property right here. Why does it have to be right there?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, council?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you the same question about the Facebook and social media, if you use it, how you use it.
Of course, we all, most all of us use it for social media. 3 things I don't talk about on social media: politics, religion, and sports. You know, it just, nothing good comes about it. Most of the time it can go bad. So why put yourself in a bad situation if it's not necessary? I just go on there. I have friends from like when I was in high school and college, from the prison when I retired, people here in town. I'm just in there for connections, just to have a good time, not, you know, no hard sides. Just open-minded.
Go ahead.
Thank you for applying. Thank you. Same question. What would be your language or your atmosphere towards a citizen that approaches you when you have no idea what's going on? What is your reaction towards that? Or what's your reaction towards city council if we don't agree with something with the planning commission? In what way in professionalism do you take it, or how do you react to it? Scenarios, sometimes we don't agree on stuff that one of us is really hard on it, but at the end of the day, we're friends and we're smiling at each other, we're telling jokes at each other, and we come, you know, as a group. What's your reaction towards those 2 scenarios?
Well, it's like if somebody came up to me and asked me a question about something that's going on. You know, I mean, remain calm. There's no reason to get upset. There's no reason to use profanity. Keep calm. Keep to the questions. Answer the questions with all the ability that I can. You know, answer the question. It's like, because maybe they might not know the whole story behind that. Maybe they only get a piece of the pie where I could explain, well, you only know this. This is also what's going on. This is what is happening that you might not know about. And then they might change their mind. But then again, we can also both agree to disagree. You can make some of the people happy all the time. You can make all the people happy some of the time, but you can't make everybody happy all the time. So unfortunately, there's going to be those times where people won't agree with the planning commission, but overall, it doesn't matter what one person thinks. It's whatever is the most important for the whole city.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That kind of answered my question, too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that it?
Council, any more? No, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what would council like to do? Me personally, I know we had one application and one not, but when we put this out, we specifically asked for putting applications out there for the public, so that way we had a way to see who we're dealing with. I'm sure most of us know both people as well, so it's going to be a tough one here, very tough. So what would council like to do? Me personally, I would go with the applicant just because we have it on paper, but that's just me.
Yeah, I've spoken with Mr. Jaden a few times. He's been at a lot of the council meetings, been interested in the process. So, and he did fill out the application. So I would like to move that we appoint him to the commission.
I'll second that. Any other motions? Nominee? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Mayor Horn,
Aye.
Councilman Vosberg,
Can I just abstain? You guys put this on me like this. I like both of these folks. They're both amazing. That's why I wanted to hear to see who else was going to come up, because we always get some pretty great candidates to go with this. I wish I could just lean back on the rest of the council and just, be voting last. But I guess that's not going to happen. So I will vote in favor, because I believe that that's what the rest of the council is going to vote for. So, and we're a team up here, and we support a team down there as well. And I don't mean down as in negatively, I mean adjacent from us.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez.
Both candidates are great. I'm glad you did come out. The both of you guys are great. It's an honor to hear both of you guys. Yes, I'm also too. We have an applicant, and hopefully, if there is another opening, you would be in. So my vote is for Mr. Yannon.
Okay. Consensus. Congratulations, Mr. Eden. You are on Planning Commission. I believe the city staff will be getting a hold of you about the meetings. Okay, now we'll go ahead and move on to item number 2. Discussion, direction, potential action related to the Coalinga electronic sign relocation budget and plan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, staff is requesting authorization for the city manager to proceed with the relocation of the community pride sign, the electronic sign at Cherry and Elm, currently located. I'm reading my staff report here. So the electronic sign, the community pride sign, as it was designated, it was constructed in 2009, paid for by the redevelopment agency, which we refer to as the RDA, when it was still active. The city has recently processed and approved, as many know, for a new commercial development. One is a new Starbucks, and also a second retail facility directly adjacent to that location that hasn't been identified yet by the landlord. In order to accommodate the new development, the city will need to actually relocate that sign and the pumper jack to the city-owned triangle at Grant Street in Baker, which is right near the Tropicana. So the parcel where the sign is currently located is owned by the developer, and the additional land is needed to make the development work in terms of the access and the drive-throughs. The developer is willing to work with the city in order to allow us access to the site and remove the infrastructure that's needed in order to do that. Staff's been working with the developer, the city engineer, and the sign company to develop a detailed plan and cost estimate to relocate the existing sign in its new location. We attached a layout of the new sign location, as well as the placement of the horn-toed pumper jack, and then that'll also include the memorial plaque and the tree for Rudy Flores that was brought up a while ago. That project's kind of been in the works in terms of cleaning that lot up. Also in the alternative section, as we know, the sign is about 16 years old, 15 years old, and as you notice, it's not working right now. We're starting to have some of the panels go out. The sign is aging. It's exposed to the sun, and we've gotten a really good long life out of the actual, and I'm talking about just the boards, the electronic boards. So in the alternative sections of this request, we provide an alternative to take the opportunity as we move the sign to replace the existing electronic message boards with newer units. I provided a link in the staff report for these new Watchfire high-resolution message boards. As the technology has improved significantly and the existing boards are starting to fail, and repairs are actually extremely expensive, and some of these parts aren't even available. It's old technology. This could be an opportunity to upgrade the panels, increase the life of the sign, as well as provide added opportunity to advertise information clearly, as the current sign has limitations due to its age. So there is some details, there's specifications, but these new boards are extremely, you can see them very detailed. Compared to, I always refer to the one we have now, it's kind of like a light bright. You can put the images on there, it's a little difficult to really put good quality messages on the board. And so that's been included in the overall alternative. So the fiscal impact to this is the estimated cost for relocation, which would include engineering, disassembling the sign and the existing pumper jack, reinstalling the new location, new power, the water service, and the wireless connectivity is about $84,000. If the city council were to include replacing the existing electronic message boards with new units, the total would need to be about $143,000. So the boards are about $60,000, and we've kind of gone with the lower end of the higher resolution boards. So not going, there's different levels from the 6 millimeter. It's based on the separation of the actual LEDs. So staff's recommending with any kind of contingencies, an authorization budget of $150,000, and then based on any kind of issues with, you know, when we move the sign, if there's any differences in our staff being able to do some of the electrical conduit, some of the additional work on site, we'll be able to bring some of those costs down. So you can see in the engineer's cost estimate, there's areas where we probably can use our local staff. We're also doing all the groundwork, so all the removal of the trees, we have a lot of some of all the rock material already, so a lot of the landscaping, all of that's already stuff that we'll be able to do with our own crews. It's a lot of it's just the relocation of the actual sign. And so basically, at this time, you know, staff's recommending approving this budget. This would be a general fund expense, utilizing the existing fund balance, which has a healthy balance that would be able to support this effort, this one-time expense. All ongoing maintenance, any other additional costs related to this would all be covered under general O&M under the municipal grounds and maintenance budget. So with that, any questions?
What's the life of these panels supposed to be, the new one?
It's hard to say, but they'll probably have a very short warranty period, similar to the ones we had. But we got almost 15 years out of the, and one of the boards still works. It's just looking at the opportunity to take advantage of those, of replacing them at the time that we move the sign. But one of them is basically out. And I imagine, and that's the one that faces more of the sun too, so that's kind of what you might be getting more of. But we'll see increased technology, we'll be able to advertise more, and then also these could go out at any time.
Any council?
So, you're talking about moving them to Grant and Baker Street?
So it's the triangle right there by Tropicana, or by the gym.
Is there a stop sign or anything there? No?
I think there's two.
There's two stop signs. There's one heading south.
Talking about on the highway or on Grant Street?
Well, is this going to be a sign that's going to face both directions?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
And so...
there is, I think
Here's where Tropicana would be, and here's where the weight gym is. This is a triangle in between, there's a stop sign right there, and another one right here off of Baker. There's one right here off of Grant.
And the city owns that triangle?
Yep. Yes. The city, I did attach an image on here that actually superimposes the sign actually on the site. It's under New Pride Sign Location 2A is the PDF.
This one?
Nope. There's that's the site layout, but there's also a superimposed as if you're driving down Elm Avenue. You can see the location of the sign.
Oh, is that what it would look like?
Yes. And it can be shifted a little bit left or right. The city engineer just kind of wanted to give it a little bit. It's not to scale exactly. The sign itself is to scale, but the location could be moved either way.
So on the main street that this would be facing, there's nothing to stop people from just stop and look at this though? Because when you're coming down, this is basically on the highway, right?
Yes.
And so there's nothing to stop people from looking at it. So is there another place that we could put it that would be more beneficial, that people would actually like be forced to stop and look at it? I thought the old one, even in its position where the stoplight right there was extremely difficult to read, and I don't think a lot of people did read it. So I'd like to find out, before we do anything, I'd like to find out if this is even a feasible thing to do. Like if the public or if anyone even thinks this is something important.
To keep it?
Yeah,
Okay.
period. Because, I mean, if people aren't going to look at it and people aren't going to read it and it's not going to have a use, then it just seems like, I mean, I know that the last one we had it up, but if we're going to spend this kind of money, I'd like to actually see that it's actually going to be, that people want it first off, and then it's actually going to be used and it's going to have a benefit to the public. And I don't know what the metrics are to figure that out, but we have a great staff, I think, that can figure that out. I'd like to, I mean, it's a lot of money to spend on a sign. And especially in a location that no one's stopping at. You know, so you're not gonna have any captive market where you have right now, they're forced to stop at the stoplight. This is just like, you're just gonna continuously going for, I don't know. I mean, I do love signs and I love them bright and I like them like that, but it seems like something like this would be better put at a place where there's a stop sign, so you're forced to look at it. Just my thoughts.
You don't want to be too much of a distraction either.
That's true, but I mean, if people just like they're gonna blow right by it, I mean, then.
Well, we're gonna slow people down here on Elm Avenue, so they'll be able to see it.
Well, that's for. Let's talk about that another time. Nightmare on Elm Street has this been.
The further, so the estimate that we have to relocate it is based on the distance it has to be relocated, because the sign company will have to use a crane and other equipment to be able to move it. So there is pricing based on. So we want to look at a location along the main corridor. We don't really have any other areas along the main highway, at least along Elm or Polk, that we feel it would be visible as much as this area, which this will clean up. The trees are going to go away. We'll plant a new tree for the memorial, but this will completely clean up this whole entire area right here as well.
So. What about like over where the, like coming into town where Post of Chennai is, right where that is? Yeah, right in that area, like right when you're coming right into town. Is there an area that we could put it there?
We could look, if it's at the stoplight, we can look at some alternatives. If the council would like to see alternatives, we can look at alternative locations. The developer's not starting construction tomorrow, so we have some time to decide exactly where we want to move it.
And I'm not suggesting we move it either. I'm suggesting we get the new one, if we're gonna do that.
Well, this is why it was brought up, is because we have to move it for the new businesses.
But I mean, we could move it and like put it somewhere like in the trash, right? And then get a new one.
So if you don't want this one, then the price probably triples.
I thought you said it was,
this is just to relocate the existing sign and the boards, not the rest of the sign. The sign in 2009 was, I think, about 100 and...
Oh, that makes it even worse. 150,000 for that little itty bitty thing?
That's pretty good size.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, can you bring us? Okay, I would like to just ask if we can bring back some alternatives then. If that would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can bring back alternative locations.
Yeah.
Because if the council wants to go with a new type of sign, then we would go through a different process for that, and we can go through that process. But I know the cost is going to be higher than relocating the sign.
Okay, well, I think we should do a feasibility study to figure out if it's even feasible, something that some people want then. Because if it's going to be that 150,000 to take that same small little sign and to put it in an area where people aren't even going to stop, I just don't see that that's a good use of that money. That's my personal opinion. So if you could bring back an alternative that we could look at. I mean, I'm the only one person.
No, I agree. That is an odd place. It's like you're passing through there. You probably should be paying attention to the road, not the sign going by. But how is the road diet going to affect all that? Because that's going to change through there, right?
It's just going to narrow. So the same roadway, Caltrans will be adding a sidewalk along that corridor, along that stretch, with new curb ramps on both corners.
And it's going to slow it down even?
Yeah.
The speed?
Yeah, because you'll be coming into that 3-lane configuration just prior to the gym. Right where the new development's going to occur is where everything kind of goes. It'll be 4 lanes all the way into town.
I still would like to see some other possible locations.
We can look at different locations. We just want to make sure the council's aware we need to relocate it. So if that's the case, then we have no problem going and looking at alternative locations. We've just done some preliminary work with the engineers, so nothing's set in stone for this location. So we can definitely come back and provide you some alternatives. If that's the council wishes. Okay.
Can I say something real quick? So the next item, before the mayor introduces it, just a reminder, if you wanted to make a public comment on that, to make sure the city clerk has your comment card up here before the discussion item starts. So if you have a comment card filled out that you haven't submitted yet, you can bring it up here to the counter.
Okay, so we'll move on to item number 3, discussion, direction, and potential action to amend Municipal Code 6-1.30 inhumane treatment and cruelty to animals. Do we have any comment cards as it is?
Yes, we have two, and we'll start with Nancy Jeffcoach. Whichever would prefer to speak is fine. Sure.
Hi, I'm Nancy Jeffcoach. I'm a volunteer at Gimme Love Animal Shelter.
And I'm Lori Anderson. We run Gimme Love Animal Shelter. So we just want to get some statistics on the item at hand. In the last 6 months, what we've been dealing with animal cruelty. We have 46 dumped animals. And when we say dumped, that means that they were removed from their areas, brought either into Coalinga or right on the outskirts of Coalinga. How do we know they're dumped? Because they're crates, there's puppies, they're thrown out with trash. So 46 dogs in 6 months have been dumped. That's not strays, that's not abandoned, that's literally dumped dogs. We've moved all of those to rescue except 2. So we did get those out. Abandoned, there are 11 abandoned dogs. When we say abandoned, that's dogs that have been left at their homes while the owners move away. 11. We have 7 that we would say are neglect cases, such as a little dog came in and she was just infested with fleas to the point that she was anemic. We have a little dog that's been running all over town for months that has a half a tail ate off. That's just all bloody and a mess. They were finally able to catch it today, so it'll be getting medical care here soon. That's neglect. When owners allow their animals to live like that, that's neglect. We've had 4 severe abuse cases. If you all remember Peanut, for instance, the little one that had the big, huge, hardened hairball in his mouth, couldn't even eat. That's severe neglect. That's abuse. We've had 4 shepherds that were that live at a home that were nothing but skin and bones, infested with ticks and fleas. We took them food over there, and before we could even pour it on the ground, they were just scarfing it down. That's abuse. And that's what we've dealt with in just the past 6 months. That doesn't include last year or the 4 years before that. It's just literally the last 6 months.
I just wanted to add that when we were looking at your items A, B, and C and how the wording is, and I thought that's some of the things that we were going to talk about tonight, is changing some of the wording in some of your codes. One of the ones that we kind of stuck on today in the office was when it says adequate food, adequate water, adequate shelter. I think that's a word we need to look at, because for you and you and you and myself and Lori and you over there, adequate means totally different things. So I think being able to take that word and make it more to the point what it means. Adequate, we just had an abuse case. They think they're adequate because they kept the dog on a chain. Not adequate. So.
Okay, I'll actually allow you to actually come back up in just a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and go with Councilman Bosford.
All right, so first off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. The untimely, this item being on the agenda was completely untimely. It had nothing to do with the situation with Nitros passing away. I just want everyone to know that I'd put this on maybe a month before that situation happened. And so the entire reason that I put that on is because I do stalk Facebook. I've stopped talking a lot on Facebook because the amount of reasonable folks on there has just dwindled. And so I'm not going to get into arguments back and forth with people. But I do pay attention, and I watch. And I've seen a lot of people state that the city directly, including blaming city council members, I'm not a city staff member that can actually do something except for the dais. This is where we can do things. And so the idea from this was to invite everybody in that had an interest in making sure that animals are not treated cruelly and to have a humane treatment of them, to come in and we would look over this and we would say, okay, so you already gave a great example of you're saying that the word adequate is something that we might need to change. So the idea was to bring people in here and to allow them to discuss with us, give us your ideas, tell us where you believe that our code falls short. We have the police here, we have the fire here, we have the city attorney here. And so I know the 3-minute timer kind of sucks because you have to go upon that. I know that the comment cards, the mayor can absolutely do magic and allow people to talk, and I'm guessing he's willing to. But that's the idea of this, is that if you have a suggestion, or you think we're falling short, or you're thinking that we should do something that we're not doing, we need to understand, because it's hurtful to hear online that the council doesn't care about animals. And that's untrue. I know, I can speak for everybody, that is not true. We do care about animals. We do not. It's not in our purview to be able to be on the ground and to be able to do anything personally about this, but we can make policy. And so that's where this comes in. And so if there's somebody out there that has an idea of how we can change our policy to better the community and to better allow our police officers to enforce the policy, because that's another thing that I've heard, is that, well, the police aren't doing their job, the police can't, enforce the policy. And so I want to understand the situation fully so that we can make good decisions and say, okay, well, I've talked to some of the members of the police, and they say, well, it's really hard to investigate these issues. And some of the issues, like where they've been abandoned or where they've been dumped, those are absolutely inhumane and cruelty treatment. But I would like to understand from the public how you would think that how the police could address this issue. How could the city address these issues in a lot of these cases where these animals are being inhumanely treated? And so that was the idea, of bringing everybody in here and saying, okay, we understand you're unhappy and you're upset, and we're upset too. So we want to hear what we can do to help you, and then run that by our police, run that by our city attorney, because there's obviously, things to do with the law. There's all kinds of laws that, unfortunately, even if we want to enforce them, Sacramento does not. And then there's also, the city attorney can give more information on, if you bring someone forward and ask a specific question, on how come it's hard for us to enforce those type of things. So if it's okay with the mayor, I'd like to allow people to come up and give those ideas, or give those, what can we do to make it better?
I think I got a good idea of what you guys were asking. It says the word adequate, but what's the definition? It needs to be defined exactly what we're requiring or is expected as adequate. Is that correct? You want to, yeah, come up here to speak. You got to come to the microphone first.
Adequacy with feeding animals, it depends on their weight. It's going to be different for every single animal, and it's opinion on everybody else. I know some people, I work for Huron Shelter, they think, maybe like 3 ounces of food is good enough for the whole day. It's not. Maybe for a Chihuahua, but the adequacy, I think maybe we should do like weight to ounces, how many times a day, like maybe that should be something that could be addressed with that too.
So I got a question. Do you have information at your facility now that citizens can come and get?
What do you mean?
So they know the weights and everything. Is there something that you do have? Is there something that could be done? That way we can post somewhere. That way some of the owners actually have what is actually expected to be fed and, they're required, I know most people, yeah, but not everybody reads them and everything's different, so. Yes. Can you come back up here, please?
I think it's really hard because adequate, again, is different. I think education is going to be the key. Can a shelter do it on their budget? Not really. And also with the 4 or 5 volunteers they have, they're not going to be able to hit that. But I think we had, like some of the cases Lori had stated, some of those dogs who had severe abuse, those had legal owners in this town. So in that case, there was nothing really pushed forward. I think for police, when you guys run into something, that communication with us, sometimes we already know about a family. We know because we're already watching. We've already reached out. We've already educated. We've already offered services. We've done and done and done. And so when you guys get it, you think it might be your first contact with this person. But we already know it's not your first contact because we've already been dealing with these families. And so I think that communication between the 2 units really need to help. I think it will strengthen what's going on in this community with animals. I think we have to look at California law states you cannot abandon an animal, and that is a California law. That's not a Coalinga law. And so we need to look at that and find out why we're not going to go ahead and take California law and actually put it in place here in Coalinga. And I think that's a big thing for us too. Why are we not abiding by California law?
I think that was the intent, so we can actually adjust it so we are able to follow more to the California law, because whatever California law says, we can technically change for the city ordinance. So if it's something that needs to be done, then we'll definitely work on that.
Well, and I think that's just it. Like today, we've had people come in today, just as an example. There's people in town that might be doing some backyard breeding. But what do? They're trying to get help for their animals that they're having. But they do need a visit. They do need somebody to come out and say, hey, you can't do that, or you have to be licensed to do it. We don't want to stop them from coming and getting our services, because then that, again, creates another problem. But we do want that problem to stop, because it keeps creating more problems eventually. Dealing with different communities, finding out what Avondale's doing, finding out what Lemore's doing. Communities that are made up almost like ours, I think, are going to be very helpful to kind of look at, see how they're wording things in their council and how they're going to do it, because we've got a lot of the same economic background. And we're sharing the same type of people. We're sharing the same dogs being dumped from Huron into Coalinga, Avondale to Coalinga, Coalinga to Avondale. We're finding our dogs dumped in Avondale now sometimes.
Yeah, very recently we just had a dog from my shelter in Huron got rehomed, finally got back home into Coalinga, and he's been missing for a whole year. So I mean, we're doing good things, but I think that it's the educational part that we need to really work on, and that's pretty much all I got.
So I have a question. So it's in subsection D, abandonment of animals. It shall be unlawful for any person to abandon any animal within the city abandonment. The city abandonment includes neglect, whether intentional or otherwise, whereby an animal becomes a stray. So it's illegal right now in Coalinga to do that. So what we're saying, and it's illegal in California, but what is the barrier if we know the people that are doing this? What is the barrier between the police department and the animal shelter and our ACO that is not having these people, and our city attorney as well? What is the barrier that these people aren't being prosecuted? Because I hear this all the time. They're not getting tickets, they're not being prosecuted, they're disallowed. Why is that?
I think it's a lack of communication, honestly. I have no complaints with our PD at all. They've stepped up in amazing ways before we had an ACO. I have no issues with them whatsoever. I think, though, that we have lack of communication. For instance, Peanut, that dog was even microchipped, so it was registered to those people. I don't know how that just kind of dropped. I think the issue was that we just wanted to get the dog and get it help. and not see it go back to that owner, to be quite honest with you. So there's, even though we made contact, we called, we went to the door, no answer, she just wouldn't return calls, nothing. So at that point, sometimes it's like, well, I just want to help this animal. I just want to get it out of this place. But I think it's lack of communication. I think that John, he is trying his best, but he has a lot to learn still, and he doesn't know all the ins and outs, and he doesn't know all the laws yet. And I think that it's lack of paperwork. Before you can take someone's dog, you have to post, and you have to post it up on their door with a date and time and all that. I don't even think we have that paperwork. We used to have things that hung on people's doorknobs that would say, you know, this is a warning, your dog was out, yada, yada. I don't think we have any of those either. I think that that's something that we need to step up on, so we can be leaving warnings like John can. You know, we can't give a citation, we can definitely leave warnings. I think it's a lack of education. We're trying to work with the school department right now. We're going to meet with them. We want to bring in little stuffed animals and give checklists so that the kids start learning how to take care of a pet, and this is what you do and how many times you do it. I think it's just lack of education on a lot of parts that, you know, we're not getting out there and teaching these young kids. They're seeing what mom and dad do, and so that's okay. But we have to break that cycle. So I think it's important that we get in with the schools. It takes a lot of funding and a lot of time to do that kind of stuff, so we're looking at grants to be able to do it. But I really think it's education and just lack of communication. That's what I think it is. And making people accountable.
Yeah, one thing, thanks again for your awesome work that you guys do for the community. Would you guys consider something like a workshop here where we could get some school library, because they do deal with a lot of kids, any kind of resources that we could bring here where we could, you know, you guys talk about education with, you know, people that know, you guys obviously know more than, you know, the normal person, that we could bring in here and we could do a workshop and, you know, just a quick step, you know, where we can start.
I think, though, the problem with that is the community is big on Facebook to butt in and get all riled up, but as you can see, they don't really come out to support it when it's time to talk about it. So I think it just means that people need to step up. The neighbors know what dogs live next door. You need to step up. If you see us posting that dog and it's dumped outside of town, you know where it belongs. So I think people need to get some backbone and they need to stand up for the animals. I think it's ridiculous the way everybody acts like they've never seen this dog in their life. And somebody knows it. You know, so I think it's just educating people. They need to know that they can report that, and we're not going to put it out there who reported it. But people don't know that unless we say that. You know, we need to start a program that's like a neighborhood dog watch, I believe. There's lots of little programs we could start doing if we have the time and the money and the help to do them. So I think it's just, it's going to be educating the little kids and changing people's ideas. They just, you know, chaining a dog is okay to them. And that's not okay. There's laws against that. But some people don't even know that, and, you know, they're like, well, it's okay, it's at least it's staying in the yard. Well, that's not okay. You know, so we need to start teaching the kids. One at junior high, this is junior high, came in to the teacher and she heard their conversation, and the little girl's like, yeah, we got this dog, it's not supposed to be outside, we put it outside, we didn't give it water for 7 days, it died. What does that make, how in the world is that okay with anybody? And especially a junior high kid? Seriously? That's not okay. But somewhere they're being taught this is okay. So we have to break that. We just have to break it, and I only see education.
I think the biggest part of that education is explaining to people that these animals are not your pets, they're your family. There's a big difference, and a lot of people don't understand that. They just get a pet just because it's cute or it's a certain time of year. I understand where you guys are coming from, but it's also not a pet. They need to be have that explained to them, that this is part of the family. and you have to treat them accordingly. You can't just treat them like crap.
I think that's the problem. The laws are saying that animals are property. So that's another issue that we have. If they're property, that hurts PD in stepping in, because there's so much red tape to get to someone's dog. So I honestly believe the best way to get to the animals are going to be through the people. I've said it a million times. If I want to reach somebody's animal, I first have to go through the owners. So our best bet is to find ways to work with them, to play nice with them, to offer them services. The city purchases microchips, they're free, we get free vaccinations. I mean, there's a lot of pets right now with ticks and fleas galore. It's bad this year. Maybe somehow we need to provide flea and tick treatment. I mean, I just don't see how else to get to an animal unless we're good with the people. So it's
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. But I think that a lot of people don't do anything. Like if the water still runs, they don't see there's a problem.
Yeah.
I say we start giving people tickets, we start fining them, and we start punitive damages against these people. Everything you're saying is nice and fine and dandy as they continue to do it, and more people will continue to do it, and it doesn't stop. They're like, hey, it's no big deal, I'll get some education down the line, and then, no, we gotta start actually going after these people and saying, hey, you're abusing your animals, you're gonna go to jail. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure you don't do that. And then we publicize it in the newspaper. We publicize it on our Facebook page. We put the little piece in the app that says, hey, guess what? If you download the city app, you can take a picture of someone letting their dog out their house. And then we make it legal to where if somebody has that and the PD sees that they can go and give them a ticket at their house. They can do whatever it takes. We got to do more than what we're doing right now, because what we're doing right now is giving me headaches. Because people complain and they blame council, and this isn't my fault. I don't do this. I treat my animals well, and I'm tired. I'm absolutely tired of the same response and result. In order to do something different, we have to do something different. We can't just do the same thing and think we're going to get a different result. I'm sorry. I think education's great, and I think we should continue down that path, but we need to do something bigger than that. We need to go after these people that are doing this, because from what I'm hearing, it's the same people over and over and over again that are doing it. And so we need to just go after these people. And I want to know, the reason I brought this forward was because I want to know, what are the barriers? What do we have to do to make it to where the PD can arrest, can fine, can do whatever they have to do to stop this issue, so that I can go to Facebook and not have to listen to this every day in a group that was created not for animals. This group was created to provide a great spot for our community. But yet all I see is stray animals. And then who wants to go to that group to read that? I mean, it's depressing. It's horrible. And what the poor animals, right? The poor animals, that's the real problem here. These animals are being abused. And so I'm totally down with what you said. We need to do some education, but I'm here to ask the PD and the city attorney and our ACO, what can we do to make it to where we can start putting these people in jail for doing this? It will send a message. They will stop. They will. Believe me, once people start going to jail and they got handcuffs behind their back, even if it's into our local county, our local jail that we can put them in, that will send a message.
And we agree, Nathan, we are all for prosecuting people. Do not misunderstand that. If I could do it myself, I would gladly do it, let me assure you.
I want to help you do it. I want to help you guys do it. I want to take, if we have to give authority to the people that are out there doing this, to be able to say, hey, this happened in our presence, we put the post on the door, and then, hey, that's enough for PD to be able to go after them. I don't know what rule or law or policy we have to change, but I know the police does the best. I agree with you. The police tries to do the best job that they can. I know they do, but I know there's red tape, and I know there's got to be a way around it. So that's my goal. How do we get around this red tape? And I think that we have a lady over here that wants to talk.
If we can have you come up to the microphone too. As soon as she's done, we're going to go ahead and go with the second comment card, and then we'll finish up.
It's streamed, Morgan, so they need to be able to see who's talking.
Oh, super rad. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to come up here and talk because that is my mom. But I am not affiliated with the shelter at all. I think that what they do is great, but I wanted to talk on behalf of a citizen of Coalinga who is not affiliated with the shelter. I'm also saying that because I have a bit more sass. So, I, as a citizen, have been very frustrated, and I know for me it's been really hard because, like you said, it feels like we know exactly who these people are who are dumping dogs. We know exactly who these people are who are neglecting dogs. I know exactly where half of these dogs have come from because some of them have come from my neighborhood. And it's very frustrating as a citizen to not see anything done. And it gets to the point where you become very apathetic to what's happening because you know nothing's going to happen. And that's kind of where I am as a citizen right now is I'm frustrated. I'm so upset. I'm angry that I can't walk my dog. I'm angry that I have to look around anytime I have my child at the park, anytime I want to go on a walk as a family, anytime I'm anywhere because there's no leash law that's being enforced. There's nothing that's keeping my children, my dogs that are loved and cared for safe. There's nothing. And it gets to a point where it's like, what are we going to do? Like you said, it needs to be, you need to hit these people in the pocketbooks. You need to hit these people with fines, with something more than what we're doing. Because as a town, as a citizen, it gets, like you said, it's so much that you no longer feel you're being represented. You no longer feel you're being heard. And you no longer feel that anything is going to change. Because it hasn't. It's gotten to this point where these animals, this is ridiculous what we see, these disgusting things that are happening to these animals every single day, and nothing's happening. These animals that are left to die in people's homes, and sometimes do, and we just move on. It's really sad, and as a citizen, I really, really hope that we can use the education, because I do think that is important, because I do feel there's people out there who want to do their best. They do. They just don't know. And that education is great for them, but there's also people out there who are just gonna do it until you catch them. And they don't care about the education, and they don't care about anything, and they don't care about the strongly worded emails either. They're gonna do it because they're making money from it, or it doesn't take any money out of their pocket. So something bigger needs to be done. So I agree, fines, education for sure, but it has to be a point where people also are feeling less apathetic as well and want to help. But at this point, as a citizen, and I don't know if I talk for everybody, but I feel like I do, we don't feel like anything's going to be done. And that's sad. That's it.
I believe we have another comment card first.
Robin Scott.
Hi guys. Wow, there's a lot going on. So I do want to say that one of the things that needs to be changed is that we need to remove, and I don't mean any disrespect here to the PD whatsoever, we need to remove at officer's discretion. That needs to be removed out. We call, we tell them what's going on. I stood out in front of a house over by Starbucks for 2 hours one day with 2 other people. I've been up here and I told you guys about it before. I called twice. The girls that were with me called, each one of them called. Nobody ever showed up. It's rumored, and I'm going to say rumored because I don't know this to be fact, but it's a small town. And when one person knows something and they tell one person, that person tells 3 persons. So you kind of know how that goes. There's really no secrets. If you tell something that you know, everybody's going to know, okay? So it's rumored that animal calls are being filtered, that they don't want to deal with them. And I'm not saying I believe it. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just saying it's rumored that that's what's going on. So, but with my experience, I'm going to say I've seen it happen. Don't know if the call went through or not. It's just like with fireworks. I mean, 4th of July was lit. There were flames looked like flames coming down over my house, the next door neighbor's house. A house caught on fire. I called, and somebody else called that I know of. The call never even made it over the radio waves. I know that for a fact. So we got to stop filtering phone calls. I mean, it's protect and serve, not protect and serve who you want. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a chief of police to enforce the law and the ordinances that you guys pass. What's the point in passing an ordinance if it's just going to be overlooked or Trash that one. Don't want to deal with it. The house across the street from Starbucks. What a shit show. I am not even kidding you, excuse me. Same house that had the puppies in the street is the same house that they went and pulled a very sickening neglect from. I'm curious, did it get sent to the DA? Is it that officer's discretion also? Because that should have been sent to the DA. That was disgusting. Guess what? They have another dog. I seen the little girl open the door, let the dog out. The dog went out the fence and across the street back to Starbucks, running out large again. We got to do something. We got to quit letting them just ignore us. And real quick, Nathan, there are 2 stop signs by that place, that intersection. There's one coming at Elm, so you would be able to see it right there. You would have to look this way at the stop sign, but there is a stop sign there. There's actually 2, but the other one's going away from it. I would like to see the sign come back, because I would like, and I've talked to Marissa about this, to get some of the readout from Gimme Love on that, lost your dog, found a dog, contact this number, try to reach out to the community as much in any way we can, and I think that sign can help. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Good.
Hi, my name's Tammy Rivera, and over all my many years, I know one thing is that we may complain a lot about things, but we also have to come up with solutions. So my suggestion would be to, I don't know how much money the city has, is set up a committee with, if people want to volunteer to be in the committee, assign it to somebody in management within the city, because they're the ones that are going to have control over the money, presenting it to you. And to me, that's how you solve problems. You bring the experts, which these ladies are the experts. You bring in other people with ideas, and you bring them together, but make one of your people be over the format, the meeting, so that they can take it back to you, because you're the ones that are going to have to give the money and make the decisions. Thank you.
George.
Hi, my name is George Anderson with Gimme Love Animal Shelter. I promised I was not going to run my mouth, and I was going to let my wife be the one who gets in trouble. I think, what Mr. Bossberg said really bothered me about the Facebook comments. I want everybody to remember, we had a heated subject not too very long ago about the shelter possibly going away. And man, we had our council's support. Things got heated, things were said, but at the end of the day, a lot of respect for our mayor, city manager, our council for stepping up to the plate, our PD for always coming to our call anyway. I know it's a rough job all the way around. At the end of the day, we got to help the animals. Right, we got to find a way to fix it, and I know that's what we're talking about. As president of the board for Gimme Love, when we started this thing, we had no idea where it was going, and no idea what it was going to turn into, but it turned into way more heartache than it did joy. And that's what has to change. I think we have the council to do it. I think we have the PD to do it. I think we have the shelter to do it. Education, yes. The recent activity at POSA with the dogs, and I know everybody knows about those dogs. Those people up and moved away, and we got entry to that house, and how many dogs? 6 dogs, rabbits,
in bad shape. And we had to take those into a shelter that is busting at the seams with animals. And that gets frustrating for everybody. So yeah, those people moved away, but they're still accountable for what they did when they left Coalinga. You know, we got to find a way to track those people, trace those people, and hold them accountable. I think accountability is the word we're looking for. I don't want the buzzer to go off on me, so that's all I'm going to say, but thank you guys.
The only thing I had to say about some of these posts is none of it is brought to us. It's put online and immediately we're bashed on as a council and the city. And I know that's not the intention, but we can't, as a council, we can't get on there and actually talk about it depending on what the issue is because of the Brown Act. So if you don't see all of us posting on it, we are seeing it. We see everything. We're just not able to actually talk about it. When there's closed session items, contracts, or anything else, we can't talk about that either until it's done. So these changes right here, we will work on it. And if I have to, I'll reach out to you myself. I've got plenty of time. If you're free tomorrow, I can go over there tomorrow. And see about getting some solutions as well as going to meeting with you over in Huron. Are you going to be in Huron tomorrow? Okay. I'll get a hold of you or your parents beforehand and I'll check to make sure. But that way we can get some more information so we know exactly what you're wanting. That way we can work on changing it to the verbiage is actually a little bit more understandable for everybody. As well as the consequences.
Can I make a suggestion if it's okay with the council? Maybe next week I could have a meeting with Gimme Love and we can have a public meeting and sit down and really talk about what ordinance changes may be beneficial and include the commander, so we're all there. And then we can bring something back at the next meeting for council to discuss it further. And that way you have something to look at in a draft change of the ordinance.
And just curious, like our ordinance is, I know you'd have to have a computer to look at it right now, and many of you probably don't, but is there anything in there, we hear the adequate, we hear officer's discretion. Officer's discretion isn't in the ordinance, but that is something that I don't even believe is, to be honest with you, I don't think that that's something that as a council we have control over. I think we can make policy that can be very defined, but I think that, you know, because what I'm listening to so far is we need to change what adequate is, we need to go out and do better education, we need to work with the citizens, but then also we need to start accountability and start enforcing some of these things. And so I would hope that the city, with Marissa, include the city attorney, the police commander, Gimme Love, our ACO, maybe if there was some community members that you guys could agree on, that would be available to help at the same time, so that then you guys could bring us back something, because I know that not having access to a computer and not being able to everyone talk at once, but I wanted to get this out there. And I know the council as a whole, we're feeling it. We feel this. And this was a rotten time to bring this up, but there was no, we couldn't remove it after it was there. Not after what had happened in other scenarios. And so I know we're all interested in moving this forward. And we feel your pain. I do. I hear it on Facebook. I see it. And it's not because it's directed towards us. It's because we feel pain for those animals too. We are at the same problem as everybody else. We don't have the power. We're just people, you know, and so we want to figure out how to give the people the power to actually do that and hold people accountable. Because I have seen in other places where somebody's left before and they left their stuff behind and someone came to clean them up, and now all of a sudden there's someone on their trail and they're going to get in trouble because they've just done this. And I don't know what we have to do to make that happen. But I think everyone is interested in making that go. And I know that we have a great police department, we have a great shelter, stating some of the things that George has stated. Everyone wants to do the same thing. We just got to communicate and get it done.
So I got one more thing too. I think another ordinance we need to kind of work on is I have a neighbor just across the street from me and a couple of houses over that puts out 4 or 5 bowls of cat food and feeds the entire litter every time they're inbreeding, and it's year round, and nothing's being done. That needs to be taken away. You know, I understand what they're trying to do, but the animals are going by and they're peeing on people's vehicles. They're actually peeing on people's doors. If you look around your door and you go from the ground, bottom of the door, 1 foot up to about 18 inches, you'll see a stain, and that's from cats coming into the neighborhoods, especially when and it also brings skunks. Good, George. What? Yeah, come up here.
So I agree with you. I might need that pretty soon. I agree with you 110%. And I think Gimme Love came to council before when we talked about TNR program for the city. That is where you have to start. We have to get funding for TNR, which, for those of you who don't know, it's trap, spay, neuter, right? And yes, you bring the cat back to where you got it from, and you drop it. It reduces spraying, it reduces litter. I think I think we had somebody speak on it about 3 years ago. We had somebody actually come here and talk about at Mooney Grove, where they had like over 800 cats, and they did the TNR program, and they reduced it down to 100 cats or 150 cats over a 2-year period. You know, we're talking about a problem that Coalinga's had for probably 30 years with cats, and you know, there's no vets here, so it's not easy. But TNR program is the start. And once you got a trap, neuter, release program in place, it's going to get better. The spraying that you're talking about slows down. It takes time, but you have to start. You have to start those programs to get it going.
Now, would that be something you would do training on if there's known issues, or would that be our ACO?
So
could it be either or both?
I think your ACO's got about 10 years more experience before he's going to be able to step into that role. But yes, Lori, I think the last time we brought this, I think Lori was ready to do some education on TNR, try to help get funding for the TNR, launch a TNR program, and let it run wild, because that is where you have to start to make it better. And it will make it better, I promise you, it will make it better. Because you get the community in that too. Somebody finds out you got a trap, neuter, release program in neighborhoods, guess what? If we find a vet that's going to do it, and Lori knows more about that, but you're going to get people that want to volunteer to help trap on the day that those cats are going. And our van, which is falling apart, that's another subject, next council meeting, but people will willingly jump in to help. If we have the appointment set up, trap, neuter, release program in place, we have funding for that to help pay the vets, get it rolling, and people will come out, and it'll start making a difference.
Have you, I know it's probably a stupid question, but have you looked into the Hope Foundation as well and see if they have grants or programs to be able to do it? Because I know they used to do it a few years ago, and I haven't seen it back here since.
I'm going to let her talk.
Hope does not provide grants, they just have discounted spay and neuter. They are hard to deal with shelter, there's a lot of paperwork. They want you to take them over, and then you have to go back the next day and get them. We have some awesome people that work with us on spay and neuter. We don't need Hope, to be quite honest with you. But we do TNR already on our grant. Last time we did 300 cats, around 300 cats, and probably 200 of those were community cats, so they were TNR. The hospital had a problem. We went out there, we did their TNR on the last grant, and they went from, I don't know, 27 cats down to maybe 5 now. So it's just when you fix them, they're not out wandering around so much, and I don't know what happens, but somehow the numbers go down. So, yeah, well, I mean, we don't have a bunch of kittens, of course, but it slows down that whole process of that. So we have our grants, $164,000, and it's getting ready to start again. And there are 700 animals on that grant. and more than half are cats. So we do way more cats than we do dogs, and that's people reaching out to us. That's not us saying, oh, we're gonna do this. So there is a lot of TNR already taking place in the city.
But we need a city-launched TNR program that's separate from that the city would back and possibly help with funding, reaching out for more grants, possibly if we have a city backing that says, yes, we are a TNR city, then grants may flow easier. Who knows?
Visalia Cat Coalition, they are a TNR group, and they came and spoke to the thrift shop because they had a cat problem. Of course, they did not listen, but anyway, there is a great TNR program through them, and they are always willing to come over here and speak to the city about that.
Now, will they fix the thrift stores, raccoons and their skunks?
Yeah, right? Yeah,
They're actually living in there, and they actually live in the drainage on both sides of the street, so I've seen them myself.
Yeah, they live at Ace behind us, they live everywhere.
Now, would they take care of that as well?
No,
I don't know. It's a cat TNR program. So, I mean, the animal shelter, I mean, we have gone out on skunk calls, raccoon calls, but we're not really a raccoon wildlife or, rescue. But good try.
Hey, it's worth a shot.
And I'm just bashing the thrift store because he's a board member and Hilda already left, darn it. But but they will. Visalia Cat Coalition will come out and discuss with the community on TNR, how it works, why it works, and how to do it. So we can always get that set up.
But if we have that stamp of approval, that's what I'm looking for. If we have the city's backing of stamp of approval of the city as a TNR city, then that goes on our grant wish list, and people see that and they want to support that because you have the backing.
All right, well, going along with that, I'm gonna kind of jump the gun a little bit and make that a future agenda item to bring, if you guys are willing to get the information for us, that way we can bring it forward and actually see where we can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can have them actually come out to that meeting and speak about TNR program.
Okay?
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I think the commander's been waiting this whole time to say something.
So we talked about this bridge and what can happen and whatnot. If you look at our municipal code, you look at Penal Code Section 597, Penal Code Section 47, and Vehicle Code Section 20,002, our municipal code is covered under all those. Penal Code is going to hold more meat just because of the issues we're going to have with collecting any fees we issue admin sites for. I believe we're running that problem right now with, what was the last topic we were talking about? Some of the vehicle code, the code enforcement stuff. One of the biggest issues we're going to have is where do we house these animals at? The catch and release thing does not work. Citations have been issued, dogs have been left, and they're back out again. The only way to do that is to take the dogs and get them off the street, solve the problem. The house out in Post Cheney I'm very familiar with. Even after they left, they were cited before they left. But after they were left and we were notified the animals were there, we did contact them. Charges were going to be filed, but they ended up making arrangements to have them surrendered. The house across from Starbucks, again, that was one where they were cited, dogs were left because we're trying to do the education portion of it, all these just not working. So when that doesn't work, where do we put the animals at? Unfortunately, we have no room. They're full. And to address the issue of the phone calls, nobody showing up, I believe that's not working on homicide. Unfortunately, we had other priorities. Not that it wasn't a priority, it just had to wait until we cleared that one up at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I was out there. So one of the biggest, I think one of the first things we need to do is figure out first, how are we going to house them? Because we got to take them. Yes, they're going to go out and give them more bad guys, or else we do bad things. We can't stop that, otherwise I've got a job, which actually wouldn't be too bad right after I retire. But without actually having that sort of punishment to it, taking that away from them, taking the animal out of the equation, or at least that animal out of the equation, hands are kind of tied. The problem's still going to be there. We can write tickets all day long. How are we going to collect the money if they choose not to pay it? That's our biggest thing. So we go the penal code route if we can. Then it's in the DA's hands. And well, like Nathan said, Sacramento's not too friendly on certain things right now, and some things do get dropped. I just got a subpoena for a case 9 years ago that they're finally looking at. That's how far behind some things are. So a lot of it comes down to it's not, nothing's being done, it's just takes time. You know, it's not NCIS, it doesn't happen over 24 minutes.
I feel though that to say, well, we have to take the animal is just taking accountability away from those people. Unless that animal is seriously being abused or neglected, they don't need to be removed. Those people need to be fined or jailed or whatever. I mean, there has to be something. I can't, if they're letting their dogs out 15 times, that doesn't make it my issue to take the dog into the shelter. That's not a reason to put the dog in the shelter. There has to be some consequences and some accountability for these people. You know, if you don't want your dog, you just can't run off and leave it. You need to find a place to take the dog. You need to have it. Unfortunately, if it's not a friendly dog, I'm not taking it just because you want to surrender it or you want to move somewhere else. You know, they have to be accountable for that animal. Have it euthanized. But don't leave it on me to do. And just to take an animal, because it's causing a nuisance, that's not holding accountability to anybody. It's just pushing it off on the shelter. That's what it is. So I understand that there are times that the dog, like Lobo, for instance, will want to cross from Starbucks. He was left there a little longer than maybe he should have been because we didn't have space for him. They put up 2 kennels, they were able to take him and move him. But that was a dog that was very sick and being very abused, so he needed to be moved. But just if he had just been a nuisance, or you know what I'm saying, you just can't go pull people's dogs because they're a nuisance. It's just not right. That's taking the accountability totally away from the owners. It's like, okay, we'll just send it to the shelter, problem over. That doesn't work. Yeah, and that's what they do.
Commander, what's the what's the steps that are taken, or how does the police take? Is it a cited first, warning, and how does that?
Depends on the situation and severity of everything.
Okay. So like if the dog was untreated badly, you guys cite the person or give them a warning first, or?
We've been trying to. Again, working with everybody, what everybody's wanting, the warnings, you know, the education portion of things. If that doesn't work, then yes, citations are next. But again, it depends on what exactly we're looking at. If it's seriousness of abuse, sorry, it's late. The abuse is serious enough, then yeah, an arrest can be made. It's a wobbler, so it's a felony or a misdemeanor. It kind of depends on how the DA wants to charge after that.
Okay. And after you arrest them, that's out of your hands, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in addition to the police department and the animal control officer who's part of the police department, our code enforcement officer does cite for loose animals. We don't always know where they belong, so it's not like every loose dog's owner is going to be cited. But if she's able to identify where the dog belongs and the dog is out, she has issued numerous citations to people with loose dogs. One of the things I will say is sometimes when a dog does not have a microchip and she approaches a house and identifies that this dog is out, people will deny that is their dog. And that makes it difficult too because, you know, she's not going to do a whole investigation on where this dog belongs, but she does help with citing owners when she can identify where the dog belongs.
And I know this has gone for a while, but I just wanted to comment on the catch and release dog. So I think every abused and neglected, visibly abused and neglected dog we've taken in. It is the accountability and the owner's responsibility to take care of the dog. And Sean and his staff have done a great job of responding when they can. I get it, tough job. I was going to comment on the microchips because we offer free microchips. One of the problems that Gimme runs into is we'll get a dog from John, maybe out, a couple dogs come in, we run them, they've got chips, we know right where they belong. Oh no, I gave that dog away a month ago. The dog's not my responsibility anymore. Accountability, again, is just, you know, it's like, what do we do? Oh, okay. Well, did you go online and change the address? No, didn't know I had to do that. You know they're full of crap, but that's what they do. So it makes it really difficult, especially when we're busting at the seams and have so many animals in there. So, yeah, I don't know the law like you do, but man, you know, showing up someplace, seeing that there's physical abuse, but the dog's okay, and saying, hey, this isn't right, you're accountable, and here's your citation for this crap, this isn't right. Or you've got to appear before these guys or whomever. I don't know if we can even legally do that, but man, that first snap to make somebody go, holy crap, like I really do have to change.
So would that be a civil issue or a criminal issue?
Like I said, we push for the criminal side of things. So if it's a citation, well, it's a regular citation, they go get a court date and show up for the judge. Just because it's easier to hold them accountable. They don't show up for court, they issue warrants. Whereas on the administrative side, if they don't pay the ticket, what's the city do? You know, how do we enforce collecting whatever fee it is?
Yeah, and I know it's hard to regulate. Even if they do get a huge fine, they get sued, pay a big thing, they end up with more animals. There's not really anything we can do. We can't force them to say that they never have an animal again. That's the hard part.
Do we?
I know you guys see that, because I'm sure you've been to houses multiple times over the years for the same issue.
I can vouch for the PD and code enforcement. They did leave citations at POSA. We've seen them scattered all over the house. And there were several of them. Did they ever pay anything? I don't know.
They actually did. They paid every citation.
Okay.
So one of and the commander can disagree with me. I mean, I want his input, but it seems to me that the cases of neglect, those are the easy cases, to be honest with you. The PD can do their job, they can send them to the DA, and then essentially it's out of their hands. There's a bunch of cases in the middle, right? Like something getting out, something being a nuisance, and really the best mechanism we have, and none of these are fast. I mean, just, it's not, we're not set up for that. Education included, right? That takes time. So we can set up the situation with fines. That's not necessarily a problem. If they luck out and they pay them, that's fine. But most of the time, even like code enforcement, general code enforcement issues, those fines don't get paid. And so the city has to be okay with, we can enforce that. I mean, we can go to court and get them. But the city has to understand that you may pay $6,000 or $10,000 to collect a $1,000 or $2,000 fine. And if you're okay with that, I mean, that's, you know, that's the mechanism, right? Is to, you know, you want it to hurt, that's kind of what it is. But the easy cases, I think, are the ones of clear neglect. Easy for PD to, not easy, but a clear case where they can send it off, they can get that out, and, you know, somebody could be looking at jail time. But it's the fines and everything is kind of right in the middle. All the you know, probably 80% of the cases, maybe more.
And to your point, and to Sean's point, if all those citations were given at POSA as they were paid, and it did absolutely no good, because they wound up leaving the dogs anyway, still wound up abusing the dog. So, that's 22,
Councilman Bosworth.
I was just gonna ask, so would it be beneficial to broaden the definition of neglect, getting back to the original?
Yes and no. So the ordinance is over 20 years old, so it needs to be looked at anyway. But on the criminal side, I mean, the PD is going to rely on the state statutes for that. And so there's not, I wouldn't say there's nothing we can do, but it's probably a better situation to let them continue to rely on the penal code to enforce what's out there. Like, we know that's good. It's not going to get, if they make an arrest, the DA is not going to have to think, oh, well, why is Coalinga have this kind of unique municipal code that they're relying on? Like, it's just an easier situation for us to actually get some action out of the DA's office to get somebody prosecuted if we're going to look at on the criminal side. So you can widen, we can widen the definition, but it's only going to relate to basically, you know, the administrative fine that we can put on them.
So if we were to bump it up to without a warning, and to say we do it at $1,000 fine, would that be a misdemeanor instead of an infraction?
Any of the fines are not going to be criminal. Like
including the neglect, and there's actual.
Well, the neglect is going to be governed by the penal code. It's going to be laid out how it is. So, I mean, that would be my recommendation, is just to continue to go on the criminal side where there's clear neglect. They're going to cite to the penal code.
Yeah, if you're looking for stuff like that, it's always better to go to penal code, because it's going to hold the misdemeanor, the felony, depending on the severity of what's going on.
So how far are we from I hate to ask because I don't even want the answer. How far are we from the new shelter even starting? Some kind of something. I mean, it's just like sitting there.
So we're actually going to have a meeting about that, not next week, but the following week. We rejected the bid that had come in because it was more than double what we were budgeting for. And so if you want us to bring that back, and I think that quote, Sean may correct me if I'm wrong, I think it came in at $445,000 to finish it. And so what we're trying to do is consider if we can do it internally and sub everything out and do it closer to what it initially came in at, which I think was 219,000. Don't hold me to those numbers, but I think that's what they were. And so we're going to be meeting about that and determining if that's something that we can do. So I don't have a time frame on it, but it is a pressing issue. It is at the top of the list of things to get done.
Council, I'm sorry, I'm not walking up there anymore. Hey, so what are the reasons why that place has to go to bid and be set up? That didn't happen when you guys moved into the building we're in now. Jimmy Love spent $4,000 on commercial Fresno Humane kennels because they moved and left them there and we had them. And they're ready to go in that building and be set up. And we can set it up the best way we can and have more room isn't the answer, but we would have a little more room. We would have more kennels. We would have more space. Maybe not in that building, but why can't we just go in like you guys did here and make a makeshift? Why are we going through this bid process and doing all this and trying to spend $200,000 on kennels when we have commercial kennels that'll do the job? And we can spend a few $1,000s to cut a center through that thing and have a washout and have a great shelter without going through all this headache. I don't understand how we did it before, but we can't do it now.
So we did have a bid prior to you moving in. The city had done a lot of that already. And part of it is like public contract code, is that the correct? That requires us to do that, but that building is not ADA compliant right now. It needs a whole.
Ours isn't. The one we're in isn't.
So the way that one is set up, it has public access to the restrooms. And so that's what triggers it to require ADA compliance. And even the way the slope of the ramp is not ADA compliant to even get in the front door. So could we do it without making it ADA compliant? Only if we were going to say that the shelter's not open to the public. Like nobody could ever go in there from the public to look at adopting an animal. And so that's not ideal either. So that building isn't just cutting the drain. It's cutting the drain. It's insulating the building because it's like a 10 building. And I don't know if you've ever been in there in the summer. It's crazy hot. So it's insulating it, adding the heating and air conditioning, adding a washer and dryer, all of that plumbing. There's electrical work that needs to be done. So it is expensive. Do I personally think it's $445,000 worth of that? No, that's why I suggested that we reject the bids and try to do it better ourselves.
I knew you were going to say that.
I know there's got to be laws and reasons, but it seems like we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. We've got the ability to go into another building with minimal dollars for AC, washer dryer. We don't have washer dryer now. We have people that come and do it for us. We don't have AC in one of the rooms. We're really not ADA compliant because the restrooms next to us don't work, and the one in the back that we use is locked up because there's dogs there. So there is no restroom for public. So all of those things combined, we can have the exact same thing in a better building for a minimal amount of dollars, $100,000, maybe $60,000. We get that building to a better point than what we're in now.
I don't disagree with you personally. I just, unfortunately, Coalinga happens to be in the state of California. And so we have all these crazy laws that we have to follow.
Well, can I ask a question though? So when Sean was talking about being able to take a lot of that work for that sign and keep it in-house, be able to trench it out, do all those things, and be able to use your in-house
That's part of what we're trying to do. So we rejected the bid from the contractor, and we're trying to essentially function as our own contractor and sub out the things that we can't do ourselves, rather than paying a contractor to do the whole project.
All right, so can you go over what you've got that we're gonna do so that we can, because I want to make sure that, that everyone walks away from here thinking that we're moving forward.
So Councilman Fosbury, I think I want to modify what Marissa was talking about. It would be nice for me to collect some more current ordinances with more teeth in them. And then she can take them and then basically carry on from there. Meet with council, meet with members of the public, and start from that instead of going over what we have and revising it in some weird way, because it'll just be weird after that. Let me see what's good. I'll find some current ones and give them to Marissa, and then Marissa can set those meetings.
I can get that some of that information probably tomorrow. Avenel has their new one, and Huron has their new facility as well. So I'm sure they have more current stuff than we do.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long.
And we can try and get a rush on this before Marissa hits the door. Yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say, but I'm glad you said it.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our, we're going to close that one. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next one. Number 4, discussion and direction regarding storage and inoperative vehicles. Marissa.
Thank you. So I'll keep this fairly short. This section, or I'm sorry, this item was requested as a future agenda item by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez in regards to the storage of inoperative vehicles. Currently, an inoperative vehicle can be stored in a residential driveway for 14 consecutive days. Beyond the 14 days, they may only be stored in an enclosed garage or behind a solid 6-foot fence. And Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez would like to extend the time frame that inoperative vehicles may be stored in driveways. This item was brought to council a few months ago. Council did not take any action to make any changes. It actually was on October 5th, 2023. And so it's brought back to you for discussion today to see if you'd like to make any changes.
I just want to see it's been, when COVID hit, a lot of, and COVID, and then all the rent going up, there's a lot of people, kids that moved in back to their parents. They brought their vehicle. Actually, I was just yesterday picking up a car at Post Cheney, and somebody's working on a Jeep, and he's been cited already, and it's on his driveway, and it's like, you know, he approached me, he's like, I know this is not your district, but my Jeep is getting fixed, and, you know, I'm giving it to my son, but he's getting cited, and it's like, I just want to switch the language where if they don't got nothing piled up on the car looks legit, or it's covered, it's fine if it's on the driveway, or it's not spilling like fluid up the, you know, making a river. I think we need to change it into, you know, where it's okay to keep your car there. You know, like I said, a lot of family members are moving into their relatives, and it's, you know, they're bringing their car. You know, I understand if it's on public, yes. But if it's on your driveway, I don't think this should be a problem. That's you know, I've had other residents, citizens, they live in an alley, they have their car in their driveway, which is in the back of the alley, and they're getting cited, but they're working on their car, or it's just covered. You know, and I understand the ones that have boxes on top of it, and yes, you know, but if it's okay, and just because, you know, their kids had an extra car or something, I don't think being in the driveway, I think we should change it. I myself, we should change. Like I said, I was at Post Cheney, the Jeep didn't look bad, it looked nice, it has brand new paint, but it's been sitting there for a year because the guy, it's a 73 Jeep, and he said sometimes it's hard to get those parts, so. I mean, I don't want to punish him by him having a project car. I mean, you know, that's not fair, so I just want to change the language on it and see if we could change the ordinance.
I think what I'm getting out of it is you're wanting change it for the 14 days and change the timeline so that they have a little bit more time to work on it, depending on the financial situation, is that what it is?
Well, yeah, because like I said, we got people moving in back to their parents, or you know, family members or anything. And the card doesn't look, you know, not even roughly or anything like that, but it's not on the dirt, it's not on the front yard, it's on their property. And if somebody doesn't like the color of it, or because it's been sitting there, it's just like, you know, I don't like the color of your house, so I'm gonna give you an ordinance to change the color of your house. No, he's paying property taxes. You know, like we don't. Some of us don't want the government to tell us what to do, but yet we're telling somebody like, hey, I don't like your car. I just think we should change it. I think we're a bigger city now. Sometimes these cars are you know, they're good looking, or it's a Jeep, like I said, that Jeep is a good looking Jeep. But the guy works. The guy doesn't have every day to work on it, and he doesn't have the money to send it somewhere, and it just, you know.
So you're talking just about cars, and how long are you proposing that it's changed for? How long of a period of time?
I mean, like if the car's rusted, but you know, it's like I said, if it's leaking oil and it's cool, then yes. But if the car is not even leaking oil, it doesn't look bad, it's covered, it's like, why should it be a problem? It's in his driveway, it's not even on sidewalks, not on public property, it's not in the front yard, it doesn't have boxes on top of it or anything like that, then I think, you know, I think it should be fine. I think it should be fine. You know,
like indefinitely fine?
Yeah, well,
I think if we reduce something like that, we should do it as needed, and maybe something we can do through the city and actually get maybe like a permit.
So we discussed this in October, and we can't do that. Like, we can't have the discretion of giving somebody preferential treatment. One thing that we do now is, say, hypothetically, Mary gets so first the homeowner would get a notice of violation stating your property is in violation because you have an inoperable car in the driveway. It's not based on the color or that somebody doesn't like the way it looks, but if it has spider webs all over it, it's covered in a layer of dirt, it has a flat tire, it's up on jack stands, things like that. So she is provided a notice with a time frame to correct the issue. And sometimes we get people who call and they say, we need an extension, we need an extra 30 days, I'm having it towed away, but you know, the tow truck can't come until such and such day. So once they've received a violation notice, we work with them on an individual basis to grant them an extension. There's never been a time that we haven't granted an extension. Nobody's ever asked for, you know, I need a 1-year extension or something crazy. Normally when people call, it's something reasonable, so we do work with them. But right now, the way it's written as inoperable is hard. I mean, it works well, and it's easier to have a set time frame, whatever you want that to be. But it would make it difficult to say, like, well, if it has rust, or if it, you know, just doesn't have boxes on it, because the language is in the municipal code. So whatever you change it to, we're going to have to change it in the code. So if you say it's okay as long as it doesn't have boxes stacked on it, then that's what the municipal code's going to say. You can have an inoperable car in your driveway as long as it doesn't have boxes stacked on it. So it's going to sound odd. You know what I mean? Right now it just says if it's inoperable, it can only be there for 14 days. As the council, you can change that. If you want to make a change to that ordinance, we would bring that back. It doesn't go into effect right away. You have to go through the process of changing the ordinance, but it's within your jurisdiction to do that.
I think just getting it out there, more information to the people that get the tickets that or warnings that they can call and get an extension if needed, so that way they have a little bit more time to deal with the situation.
I will say that the probably within the top 3 complaints we get on code enforcement are in regard to inoperable cars, whether they're parked on the street or parked in someone's driveway. That is one of the biggest complaints that we get. That's not to say you can't change it. I mean, if you change it and say it can be 14 days or it can be indefinitely, or I'm sorry, it could be more than 14 days or it could be indefinitely, We would have to educate people when they call, well, now that's allowed, and so nothing's gonna happen. It can be there for that period of time.
So do we know what other cities do? Do we have like examples of ordinances from other cities around that we could maybe look at to see if there's some kind of out of the box thinking to create a balance?
We can look at that and bring it back.
I mean, what do you think?
I'm gonna be in a couple different cities tomorrow, so would you like for me to see if I can get that information for you out? I'll try to get as much as I can. I'll be in 4 different cities tomorrow, so I'll be able to get it. Okay, move on to our next item, announcements, city manager's announcements.
Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody knows that National Night Out is Tuesday, August 6th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. downtown in Coalinga. We'll once again be handing out free school supplies for Coalinga students entering grades TK through 12. We also have vendors out there and food trucks and all of that, so it's a great event.
Any council announcements? I know there's one that the Councilman Schenner's actually been working on. It's 2024 Airport Day. It's in September. This is a new thing we're trying to check out. You'll be able to see airplanes. There's going to be a car show. There'll actually be vendors out there. They're actually going to be showing one of them, a movie, Top Gun, in one of the hangars. So there'll be a lot to do for everybody to get there. I don't know if there's a cost or not, but that's September 28th from 11 o'clock to 6 p.m. out at our airport. Everyone is welcome. Okay, any future agenda items?
No, I just have a little, just, not really announcement, just kind of like a thing. As everyone knows, Marissa is going to take a job in Lemoore, and she's already told me today that since I didn't call her for the agenda, that I must be unhappy about it. Which I am unhappy about it, because we're going to lose a great person and a great city manager that has done wonderful things here in the city of Coalinga. She came into a scenario that was less than a great thing. We're in debt, and she did everything she could to get us out of that with the help of council and everyone in the public and whatnot. And so I just want to, say that I appreciate all the hard work and effort that she's done when she's been here. And I don't give her my blessing to go to Lemoore. Because I feel like Lemoore stole her. But I do believe that everyone should follow their goals and their dreams, and if they feel like they're being called to do something, that you should take every opportunity to do that, because you'll never get all those opportunities back. Opportunities is one thing that you don't get back. You have to take them when they come. And so I just wanted to thank you for the time that you've been here. And I know that you're still here for a hot second, but I really do want to say that I appreciate everything that you've done for the city. So.
Okay, now back to future agenda items. I have a couple of them here. I'd like to see what it would take to possibly get a few of the quick charge EV chargers here in town at random spots, 2, 3, 5, however many we can get, if there's some grants for it that we can get to as well. Also, I'd like to get a cost on the lights inside the projectors, about getting some more powerful ones, and what it would cost to repair that panel versus buying another one to replace it, because I guess the motor inside of it is getting more out. It's getting to the point where it doesn't want to work anymore. The next one is the water basins, the drainage water basins around town. If we can find out which ones that the city owns and see if they need to be cleaned. So I've had a few complaints because of fire hazards. And then another one, this will be probably a closed session later on. I'd like to adjust the spending limit for city manager. They have a spending limit I would like to double it, because our assistant manager's already doubled. I would like to double the city manager himself. And what that does is they have a certain amount that they can spend without having to come to us to get an approval. Okay, any items? Okay. That being said, go ahead.
I just want to look into, I know this year we had a couple of cooling stations, but I wanted to see, just to get information about the old court, those doors, how good is it to open up a cooling station there for next year, if it's possible? But if it's like gonna cost so much, then just information of, if we could just open it and have the air conditioner turned on during the hot days.
I do have one item. I would like to find out if we have the data, and if not, I'd like to start keeping the data on the interactions that public safety is having on a daily basis with the homeless population. I'd like to understand that, what those relationships are, and how much of the time that they're spending in the day dealing with those relationships. And it could be homeless, and add the caveat of people that have mental illness.
Yeah, we can put that as a future agenda. I do, because we spoke about it before, have that information from PD. Fire's a little bit harder because somebody has to voluntarily tell them that they're homeless. So if they don't tell them that, then it can't be recorded.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to closed session. We have one item tonight. With that being said, meeting is adjourned.